Ones we love.
This one goes out to the general. But yeah, so we started this game on November 3rd, 2019. So before COVID, we have been playing
Sure.
Traveler.
Pour one out for the
You
traveler.
gonna pour one out for Traveler?
Yeah.
I come not to bury Traveler, but to praise it.
For 5
So we've
years.
been playing this for 5 years. Yeah. So pre-COVID, we started this before COVID, with the little black books. And I gotta be honest with you, we took those little black books as far as we fucking could. I
Yeah.
mean, it was even from like the first day. Uh,
Yeah.
I think we realized that rules written in 1977 and 1981, they really left a lot to be desired. And I
Well,
don't know if you
yeah,
go ahead.
I used those exact black book rules in the late 70s, and
Yeah.
it was
Then
wacky. It was wacky because you kind of had to make half of the thing up, but it was really fun though. It was kind of satisfying in a way.
What I
Yeah, it was.
remember about it was in the 70s is when colonialism was still cool and accepted, and now maybe not so much. But those traveler rules are definitely written from a colonialist.
yes,
I
Colonialism, yeah.
the colonizers.
Yeah, it always so there was a couple of things about Traveler that always sort of like
Your health, gentlemen.
felt to you and to all of you.
Cheers.
So there was a couple of things about Traveler that I always felt were off. And one was like you're talking about, it was very sort of colonialistic. And the other thing was they had sort of like ramrodded this weird sense of their like an aristocratic tier of the thing. Social standing was a huge deal in
Right.
Traveler.
Right.
And the other and part of it, what came along with it was there was a weirdly strong presence of weaponry that you would never see used. Like you could get swords, you could carry swords around in space, and it was like, why would you?
Well,
You
there's
know,
a
of all the
long history
things.
of that.
Yeah, a long and glorious history of swords in space. It was like GDW at the time saw D&D, which came out in what, 74?
Yeah, it,
Before.
I think
And Star
74.
Wars is out.
Star Wars comes out, it's in 76. And
right.
so GDW is like, we need
77, baby.
to, yeah, we need to nail this. We're not going to be able to obviously license Star Wars, but we need a space game. And they sort of just, it felt like they took a lot of D&D and what would could be considered fantasy elements and just sort of like
Mhm.
put starships on top of them and ran with it, that kind of thing. But
First time I ever played Traveler, I was 11 years old, so it was 1981,
okay.
and I was playing with all older boys, and you can imagine my lifespan among those older boys. I think I must have had 6 characters, and yeah, I was like, I was the whipping boy. Like I couldn't survive a single encounter. It felt like.
We I think the first time I played was in junior high, so I would have been 12 or 13 maybe, and that would have been 79 or 80. We would play. So in junior high, if you finished your lunch early, you had the opportunity to go to the library for the rest of your lunch period if you wanted to.
Ooh, nice.
So we would go. So the guys I played were all in my lunch period. So we would go to lunch. We would eat. We would just throw down our lunches, and then yeah, exactly as fast as we could, and then we would go out to the library and play Traveler, and that's where we first started playing it, and
Awesome.
it was yeah, it was great. Nobody had seen that kind of. I think people forget that for thousands of years there were a certain number of kinds of games: board games, chess like, strategy games, dice games, card games, and that was largely it. Gary Gygax, for as you know, say what you will about his how what he was like as a person, he literally invented a new kind of game that had never existed before. And
He didn't just invent a
it's
game. He invented a lifestyle, almost like a religion, right?
yeah,
Because people it's schismed off into multiple different. I mean, if you think of D&D and Pathfinder, all that now, you got Methodists, you got Catholics, you got the Lutherans.
right.
They're just various flavors of RPGs, all from his vision.
So there have been 13 versions and editions of Traveler since 1977. So
Crazy.
1977. So Little Black Books went for 10 years. In 1987, Mega Traveler came out, also from GDW. And then you had in 93, 6 years later, Traveler: The New Era, also by Games Designer Workshop. At which point, Game Designers Workshop
Gone.
ceases to exist. And then you have Mark Miller's Traveler, which is the only one that has a dude's name on it.
Right.
Just me personally, the best thing GDW ever put out, Traveler floor plans. I lived for Traveler floor plans.
Oh, they were
It had
excellent.
little guys, little counters on just these huge maps. So you could, oh man, I would just have battles in my room constantly with myself, just like do 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 do.
Yep.
Uh,
That's cool.
GURPS put
Gotcha.
out 2 versions. They had a company called QuickLink Interactive put out something called Traveler in 2002. Then you
Okay.
got Traveler Hero, which is from Comstar Games, never heard of them. And then Mongoose comes into the picture. So you have Mongoose Traveler in 2008. Far Future Enterprises comes out with Traveler 5 in 2013.
Okay.
I don't know where they got that. But then you have Mongoose Traveler 2nd edition, and then Traveler 5 again 6 years later. They kept the name. It was just a new edition.
Hmm.
So, and then Mongoose Traveler had an update 2 years ago. So
Okay.
there's 13 different versions of Traveler out there.
Dang.
We chose none of them but one, and went to
chose the first.
went to Cypher System. So I guess there was that. But yeah, so we switched
That's
to
awesome.
Cypher in November again of 2022. So 3 years, almost to the day,
Yeah.
after we started, we switched over to Cypher System because we had expanded. We had gone beyond the capabilities of the little black books.
Right.
So, and Chuck joined us
Yep.
in about a year ago, in January of last year. So, no, January 23. So almost 2 years ago, he joined us. So, and that was sort of how it went.
Post the general.
Yeah, post general. Yeah,
Mm.
exactly. So yeah. So
And fortunately, I didn't have to suffer the indigestion of devouring mass quantities of food in order to get to come play. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I've got a series of questions here that I'm going to pose to you guys.
Okay.
I also have a short timeline of the adventures that we went through, and some ideas about what envisioned your aftermaths to be.
Like you have a couple questions on dangling plot points that were out there too.
Oh, there was so before we go into that though, I want to explain. So I've been DMing 15 years, Don, somewhere around there.
Yeah, I actually wanted to make a comment before we went too in depth on stuff.
Okay.
Thanks to you and your little Sunday night games,
Mhm.
all of us that have been playing were so ready for COVID.
Yeah.
More
That's true.
so than anybody else.
I would say 100% that is absolutely true.
Yeah.
We were ready to move into a Zoom environment or Microsoft Teams or whatever came along. Way
Right.
faster than else. Yeah.
People stumbled so hard on that when we first started doing it.
Mhm.
I'm like, no, this is easy, guys. I've been doing this for years.
It's actually easy. Yeah.
We weren't nerds. We were innovators. We were tastemakers.
And,
set the
and that
trends.
was because of you, Les. You and
Well,
your Sunday night games.
Well, when we first started, and this is when we first started Council of Thieves, and we were using Zoom and PowerPoint. It wasn't even
Yes.
Roll20. We were using.
Okay, you weren't using Zoom then. You were using Google Hangouts. Remember how
No.
you
Might have
Google Hangouts?
Oh
was?
yeah, we did use Google Hangouts for a little bit.
We
Yeah,
did
well,
use Google
I think
Hangouts.
that's
Google
what the
Zoom.
Tom years you were using Google Hangouts. That's
Yeah.
when I first came on, and I remember like somehow we would like overload Hangouts and we'd have to all go off camera. Remember, like it would start.
That's why we went to Zoom.
That's why we went to Zoom. Well, thank you. I mean, we were sort of doing it beforehand with online gaming, but we really did sort of. I mean, you were right. We were sort of like in the zone when it came to COVID. We could handle anything that virus threw at us.
Yeah.
Quarantine was no big whip. And when the next one comes, we'll be ready for that one.
Mhm.
So my question for you. So first of all, my first question for you guys is what did you think with the span of when we started in 2019, Little Black Book Traveler, 1977 would have been 23 and 19 is what? 42 years old? It was 42 years old. What did you think of the game. So all of us have played probably at one time the old Little Black Books game. A lot of us have.
I had not.
You had not. Okay, I did, and I know Matt did. Eric, you did. Andrew, did you play Little Black Books Traveler when you were
Nope.
a kid? You
No,
did not.
I'd heard about it.
Anyone?
That was for, people I didn't want to talk to.
Okay, gotcha. What about you, Chuck? Now, Chuck, I'm
No.
guessing that you didn't do a lot of role playing games when you were a kid.
I did, but it was all D&D.
All D&D. Okay, so you
They-
did not play it.
They pretty much picked a game system and stuck with it. I mean, I've played Vampire and Shadowrun and Cyberpunk and all that, but that was later when I was in the military.
Gotcha. Okay. The military. So I was surprised, and you guys know John Velker. I was surprised at how popular role playing games are in the military.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's who
I was-
taught me, was all ex-military, like post-Vietnam era military, either in active service at the time or post-service.
Mhm.
That would come and play at our local hobby shop.
Yeah, well, like I've said before, having, the online meeting is great, having the online board is great, but when you're talking about being in the military, you're constantly moving around.
Mhm.
So for the space cost, space in your bag cost of a book or two, a sheet of notebook paper and a pencil and a bag of dice, when you get stuck in the airport for 14 hours, you just find people that also do that, and you sit down in the airport and you play a game.
Mhm.
Somebody goes, "Oh, I'll run a one shot." Fine. Well, of course it's gonna be a one shot. We're flying in different directions. in the morning.
Yeah.
But I'll run something. Okay, good. And you could do that pretty much wherever. If you're stuck in an airport, if everybody gets flown somewhere and the plane breaks down when you get there or can't take back off again, you're stuck in hotel rooms or whatever they put you in.
Mhm.
You can just all get together, put all your vouchers together to get food. Because
Yep.
one voucher is not enough to get any damn thing to eat. But if you put 10 of them together, you can get a couple pizzas. So yeah, it
Yeah.
all works out. It works out to be a really good travel game, which seems odd, but I mean it's all theater of the mind because you don't have miniatures, you don't have any of that stuff. You
Right.
just
Right.
you draw it on paper.
That's cool.
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I could see how that would work. If you've got the stuff, you just pop something out, right?
Yeah.
Also learned over the years that having the books and having all the online resources now is amazing. But every group I've ever played with, there's at least one or two players that absorb all the rules and don't even nearly need the books. Could you just go to your
Yeah.
your line judge here and say,
You
"Is it
do
in?
rule lawyer-
It was
rule lawyer.
in." Yeah,
Yeah,
like when so, and I think that's it kept it light too in that way, where you could just you didn't have
Yeah.
to have every resource material.
So all that, with all of us having very different experiences when it came to that, what did you guys think of original Traveler, the Little Black Books? Some of us who have played it with the lens of 40 plus years, others coming to it brand new. I mean, Chuck, you and Andrew came to this sort of brand new. What did you guys think of it?
It played exactly like you'd expect a 49-year-old role-playing game to play.
It did. It did.
Good bet. The
But-
character generation is hilarious. I'd forgotten how terrible / hilarious it was.
Yeah.
It's really funny. Yeah.
For me personally, I'll say that, one of the things coming into Pathfinder, I had played D&D and I played a little 3.5. I never played Pathfinder, and I felt like, I'm always struggling to catch up and understand where we are in the rule sets and whatnot. I think I've gotten better over the years, but it's always been a struggle. So I know Traveler and I know how we can play it. The two things that were different, one is that the Traveler I played was very, very, don't get attached to your characters, like paranoia level of death in space. Yeah, because you get one laser blast and you're dead.
Almost like Call of Cthulhu. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. Another one. Like you get an impale and Call of Cthulhu, it's over. Time for a new character. Yeah, like you always have to have Sam Jr. off in the wings, like I'm here to avenge my father. But
I'm Junior.
but I liked it because I knew that I could understand the rules and follow up, and I didn't feel like I had to reabsorb a whole new rule set. So I was fine with it, but it is a little unwieldy.
It is, and so one of the things. So you know what? Before I start going on with it, the rest of you, what was your thoughts about the Little Black Books? Tell me, Andrew. What you're suspiciously quiet there.
I remember rolling the character at a Persian restaurant in 2019.
Awesome.
There
At a
was a
Persian
link that you'd
restaurant?
sent Les about online character generation. I'm just rolling. It's so many stillborns And I'm going,
Yes.
okay. I knew I was supposed to be a doctor, so I think halfway through my meal, I finally got a doctor. And I wasn't sure what to make of the game. It's felt very free form, very. It was different from what I knew. The D&D. What I like though about that versus the new rule set is because the way the rules were written, I could never fuck up a surgery or a medical procedure. I always knew I was going to at least moderately succeed, if not absolutely crush all expectations.
Yep.
How
So
did you
that was
get
kind of fun.
such a strong score? You had a very strong and intelligence score. Very strong.
Yeah, but charisma, dexterity. If I tried to eat something with a fork, I was liable to poke my eye out.
Yeah.
But put him in an operating theater. He's got this.
Yeah.
Yeah. You should have just eaten with a scalpel.
Well, and I got to tell you, a lot of these the characters that you guys had were great. Dr. Wagner is one of the all-time classic characters. Coffin
Great character.
Doyle is one of the all-time
Coffin
classic
Doyle.
characters.
Never look at a demi-tasse spoon the same way.
Oh man.
You know, it's just like whoever Jix coming in and is like, well, you know, you know, that kind of thing, and with his whiskey and his body pistol.
That's awesome.
You know, these were all-time classic characters.
For
So
somebody who didn't want to get in a fight, I shot a lot of people. Like I come in specifically not to be a dice thug, but to be a diplomat or whatever.
I'm gonna be a
It seems like I was always in a position, or I was on the front lines of having to shoot somebody in the face.
sorry, I'm writing that down. For somebody who didn't want to fight, I shot a lot of people. All right, Eric, what about you? What did you think? So you played Little Black Book Traveler back in the day. So with the lens of years, what was your reaction to it?
Back in the day, I was a really lonely, stupid kid. So
So you're the one amongst us.
so any game that came along, I thought that sounds kind of cool. I'm gonna check it out, man. This is great. And I got into a bunch of games that way. There was this pre-Oriental Adventures, just as a tangent here. It was a little black book about ninjas and how to incorporate ninjas and
Was it Bushido?
genuine Nihon milieu into your campaigns. And I forget, it was a really obscure little black book, similar to the Traveler Black Book, but this is extra obscure. I got it at War Games West or something. Anyway, the Traveler Black Books, I would have bought them probably at War Games West in Albuquerque, on Central Avenue, and probably in the late 70s. And I would have been I was born in 68, so I guess 10-ish. And I was really, really deeply into D&D 1E. I was a D&D 1E expert. I was a guru. I had everything memorized because back then my brain was kind of completely plastic and I could memorize everything.
Nice.
So anyway, I had the whole 1E rule set just up here. It was great. Anyway, and so
All those charts and everything. Oh man.
Rest in
Thaco.
peace, Thaco. Yeah.
both of
Thaco.
but anyway, and so I came to Traveler with a really strong 1E background, and I kind of liked it a lot. I thought this is different. This is really kind of. I have no idea how this is supposed to work, but it feels good. I don't know. And
Alright.
I had a spaceship and a character, and I kept blowing shit up and crashing, and it was me. It was mostly just solo play because I had no one to play with. I mean, I was
You're in a group that masturbated.
E-
That's fine.
Eric, did you that ninja book, was it by chance Bushido? That was out about that time. The Way of the Ninja.
possibly,
and-
it was late 70s, and it was I forget. This is almost 50 years ago.
I just remember peasants had 1 hit point, ninjas had 3, samurai had 5, and
Something like
boars
that.
had 50.
Something
Who
like
did?
that.
Boars, like those tough
Like what?
boars. Yeah, they would like just kill whole parties. TPK. You ever played? I'm going off the
Mm,
side road. I just remember like
mm,
how I've stabbed this boar 8 times with my katana. Why isn't he dead?
right. But it was about that time I was trying all kinds of things, and uh it any amount of money that I got from anywhere I spent on games, and figurines and paints and all that stuff. But yeah, I would design ships, and I would dream up kind of just weird space wizards in a way. I don't know, space wizards that would go around like shooting guys with you know uh, lightning lasers or something. Like
You were Star Warsing it up a little bit, where
right.
Yeah.
But
somebody was using the Force.
um anyway, but this is all I was age 10, so this is through the lens of a 10-year-old kid.
He was just ahead of his time for Spelljammer.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Spelljammer. Oh my God.
Huh.
I was heavily into some sci-fi comic books back then. Some obscure titles. I totally forget that. Captain Victory. Um, um, there was I forget these titles.
I was never. Were a lot of you guys comic book guys? I was never a big comic book guy.
I was a big comic book guy. Yeah.
Were you? Okay.
Jack
I had some.
Kirby, Stan Lee, the old 70s action comics with Superman, hilarious. It's like a running gag script. It's so funny, so campy. Those action comics, like Superman eating a gigantic room full of burgers. I remember super speed. Anyway,
Okay. I didn't know that that was part of the Superman mythos, was the burger eating part.
it was though. And it's canon. It's Action Comics from DC. It's really great. Anyway, and when Superman fought Thunder and Lightning, never mind. Anyway, I guess I'm all over the place. We've drifted far from Traveler, but back then comic books were a big influence on my games, and I guess I incorporated some of that into Traveler because I had some kind of luminous wizard but superhero type
Okay.
beings there, and I had a whole race of them, and um uh
But a lot of your gaming was by yourself.
yeah, because I was uh first I was mo mostly it was me and my friend Chris, and sometimes Cliff. We would game, but then I went away to a new school in 6th grade, and everybody there was a fucking sociopath. So I'm not gonna
Okay.
game with them.
That's just junior high, dude. That's what happens there.
So then I moved away to the reservation in Western New Mexico, and I actually met some really cool guys there, and we gamed some,
Okay.
and I gamed a little bit of Traveler with my friend David. Must have been both in about 6th grade. This would have been in like 1980-ish. Um, and so gaming
Good.
on the res, Traveler on the res, it's true.
There you go.
Mm.
What about you, Don? How you were one of those people that said you didn't play when you were a kid, play Traveler.
I didn't play Traveler.
Okay.
So I was a lot like Chuck. I started with D&D. The group stuck with D&D. That's what I played, D&D.
Gotcha. Okay.
Played some like Battle of the Bulge or other
Squad
board games
leader,
like
those kind
that.
of like Avalon Hill games kind of thing.
Avalon Hill games, yeah.
Yeah.
But the only role-playing games that I played back in the day was Dungeons and Dragons. So,
Gotcha. Okay.
and being old, I started when I was really old, like freshman in high school.
Ugh. So a late bloomer, if you
Oh,
will.
Ancient.
late. Well, it was brand new.
New
I played
technology.
Red and Blue Box. I couldn't do anything before that.
Well, why
But,
didn't you
you know, all
invent the
through high
game, damn
school-
it?
Pardon?
Why didn't you invent the game, damn it?
I should have.
I played it all. I started with Melee.
Yeah, so all through high school, through college, and then of course, you know, stopped playing all the games after college until hanging out at Bob's, you know,
Yeah.
25 years later, or whatever.
All right. So that seems to be a strong pattern, right? You play when you're a kid, then you get through high school, you get through college, you start a career, and it sort of goes away for a while. You have kids or whatever, and then at some point you find your way back. Does that
Yeah.
now is that common to everybody here, or it is to me?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
how I
Definitely to me. Yeah.
you led me back less. I mean, I still board gamed with my friends, and I went to conventions. I happened to fall into a board game crew here that became publishers and designers of games. So
Mhm.
I played a lot of board games, but I'd given up RPGs, long before I got married. And you and I were talking one day. I was telling you I was at a game convention. I was watching Steve Jackson play 12 games of Ogre at once. Like he was doing like a speed ogre. At this
Speed
convention.
ogre.
And I had a card signer, like, and you like ran off, and you're like, look at this, I got a Gary Gygax Dragon Magazine address or whatever, and I was like, what? And then you invited me to your game, and that's when I found my way back.
So you had a pretty big gap then.
Yeah, I mean, I played from 80 to like maybe 98 almost every week, and I played I grew up in a hobby shop, so I played every system. I played Chill, Torg, Ars Magica. I played Shadowrun, all the various D&Ds. We played a lot of Champions. That's another broken ass system. Chaosium, Pendragon, and Call of Cthulhu from Chaosium.
Mhm.
And the Tunnels and Trolls. But then the first one I ever bought with my own money was Melee, and which became the Fantasy Trip. Melee and the Wizard became the Fantasy Trip from Steve Jackson, which ultimately became GURPS like 15
Yep.
years later. And then I played from like 90 to 97, I played in the Legend of the Five Rings campaign every week. And I'm sure there's other things I'm forgetting, but we had a big Vikings campaign that was our executive level, game where you had to be invited to it. Oh, and I forgot. And we played several RPG campaigns of Boot Hill, which always ended up with somebody, having their feelings hurt or getting into a fist fight or whatever. That's another game system where you live hard and die fast. And half the time you die by your own gun because the way those rules are written, your misfire and explosion is in a carbine or whatever was like a high risk on a D100.
Andrew, was that for you? Did you play when you played when you were a kid, and then because you mentioned earlier that a lot of the people who played Traveler you didn't want to be around. So were you an RPGer when you were a kid, or did you come to it? Oh well.
I was aware of Traveler. I was just D&D in high school. I don't know. I ADHD. It was hard for me to sit down for more than 20-30 minutes and do something. And then depends on who you played with. Some felt more like LARPing, which I didn't want to get involved in.
Not those freaks.
Freaks.
All right, raise your hands if you've LARPed. Come on, everybody, be honest.
I have a
I didn't really want to do it though.
We want to. Eric too.
I did have a question. So as I went along with my RPG and whatnot, I had to as I got post high school, I had to start making. I just couldn't bring myself to bring up to other people my dirty shame of RPG.
The secret, yeah.
So for various girlfriends, I was out with the boys, or or it became I'm playing cards with the boys, right? Because that seems to cover all. They don't ask any more questions. They assume you're you're smoking and looking at nudie magazines and
You
playing
told me
cards.
you went to strip clubs because that was more acceptable than playing at
Exactly.
tabletop role.
Exactly.
It was more acceptable.
I did blow off a hooker. Like, all right.
Oh, okay then.
All right, there
I
you
was
go.
worried that you were playing RPGs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not even a brand name RPG, one of those freaky RPGs.
Yeah, that's some Tunnels and Trolls bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. Or Nuns with Guns, or Twilight 2000. That was another one we played.
I played Twilight 2000. That was a great game.
Yeah, it was fun. I had a friend of mine who was he was like maybe 25 when I was 15. He was one of those people I played with who passed away
Rumor.
from a heart attack early on. He always wanted these Twilight Imperium miniatures I had in a blister pack still, and they're ugly ass miniatures, but I wouldn't give them to him because he wanted them so much. I was just lording it over him. So when he died unexpectedly, like we got the crematorium to like take them so I could have them melted in with him.
Oh, no kidding. Well, that's pretty cool. I mean, not the
That's
dying
cool.
part, but the melting part.
Yeah. So I hope his parents enjoy like the ching 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 ching. What the ching 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 ching?
So
The hell is that?
back to Andrew. So Andrew, you played when you were a kid, you played in high school. Did you have the gap where you went to college, you went, set out upon a career? And then you stopped playing for a while and found your way back? Is that how that worked for you too?
A little more complicated. I remember getting a D&D basic set from my aunt for, I think, my 13th birthday, something like 12th birthday, being very insulted. Why would you think I was like something like that? That's
Oh, really? Okay.
But it's taught to be polite. Oh, thank you. That's so nice. I think it really kind of hit in college when my best friend was an avid D&D player. I think version 2. He had all the books, and I thumbed through them and go, "Wow, this is incredible." So we would play. But I never. In high school, my experience was playing with somebody who was just so hardcore. It wasn't exactly LARPing, but it was borderline LARPing, and it was like, this is ridiculous.
You had to do the voice. It was all very.
And you had
in
to stand up
character.
and act it out.
Yeah, no.
We weren't wearing costumes. We weren't going to a park where people could point and go, "Mom, what's that?" It was. So high school, my exposure was like,
Yeah, it was.
but college, it was my friend. He was cool, and we'd play a little bit, and I guess more Infocom games than D&D. Does
Infocom
anyone
games.
remember Infocom?
Like
No.
the Infocom,
Zork?
like the Zork and the I was
Sorcerer.
thinking the Leisure Suit Larry and
Yes.
yeah.
And there was
they
a
had a
Hitchhiker's
Hitchhiker's
Guide to the Galaxy
That
version
was the
of
one.
that.
I never finished that one. Yeah, Zork. Remember those are the text-based games where you're
Text
like,
based on the computer. Yeah.
you're like,
Oh, yeah.
like you're in a
Okay.
room, you go
Oh, yeah, I
north,
played
south, or
those, yeah.
west. Yeah.
So we wasted I mean, how do you define waste? It was fun.
Spent.
We
You
solved
spent
all the
hours.
Sorcerer, and it was a 3-game series. We solved Hitchhiker's Guide. It was fun. I mean,
Nice.
I think that's what really indoctrinated me to the theater of the mind, more so than probably D&D and Traveler. I was
Did you
aware
play-
of Traveler. My experiences with D&D were mixed, but Infocom was like, wow.
Nice. That's a really different
Yeah.
path that you've taken. That's interesting.
Infocom was great.
All right, now
Yeah,
I gotta go to Chuck on this. Oh, sorry, what were you saying, Matt?
I was saying, I'm sure some of you had the same thing I did. Where I know Don was saying, I think somebody was saying they played at their school, or maybe Eric did, but that was during the Satanic Panic and homophobia years, where anything that wasn't jock based or like chess club based definitely was suspicious.
Yeah, there was something wrong there.
Mhm.
But so Chuck, how long were you in the military?
4 years.
4 years. All right.
Yeah.
So did you go in right out of high school?
Yeah, I joined when I was 17.
Gotcha. Okay. So but you played in the military too. So was that
Yeah.
was the gap lessened, or did you have a gap just like everybody else?
I don't really have a gap. I played a little bit in middle school.
Okay.
So I guess there's a gap between that and graduating high school. But I graduated high school at 17 and went in the military. And because I had played it before, when the guys were like, "Hey, we're gonna get together and do this," I went for it because I knew I'd like it. So I played the whole 4 years I was in with the guys in the military. When I got out of the military, I moved to Florida. And
Okay.
one of the first things I did after I got settled there was I went to a gaming store and they had the message board, and I saw some people advertising for a guy advertising for a game he was going to run. I called him up and joined the game.
Cool.
And that guy is the one who lives in Missouri now. He's my oldest friend. I've known him longer than anybody else on the planet.
Oh, wow.
And so it's been continuous since then, right? So when I was in Florida, I gamed with him. When I moved to Missouri with my ex-wife, then I did the same thing. I went to a gaming store. I found people's notes online and called them up and talked to them for a while, and then just joined the game.
Nice.
There have been little gaps because adult parties are hard to keep together.
Right.
Whether it's because people have kids, they get married. The other one we ran into all the time was this guy's tired of being DM. Nobody else wants to do it, so this group's just going to flush.
They dissolve, yeah.
Yeah, and so, but each time I pretty much, I mean, not continuously, but I kept joining new groups and getting involved with new people whenever a game would die. So I've gamed with a lot of people.
Chuck, I actually don't know the origin story, of how you and Les met. I know some of the origin stories here.
We've
but
never met, not in
We've
person.
never met, no.
How did you join the game then? I remember the day you joined our game in the middle of the undead city we're in.
Yeah,
And,
It would have to be Gordon and Jennifer, right?
Gordon and Jennifer,
Yeah.
because
So
I actually knew them, or I met them when I moved to Missouri/Illinois with my ex-wife. And we used to hang out
Lynn,
with them.
you were married when you were married.
Yeah.
Is that when you were married to Lynn? Okay.
Yeah. And we used to hang out quite a bit back then, and we gamed a little bit back then. Like on a weekend, get together, get drunk, and play Dungeons and Dragons or whatever. But so it was from them that I knew about this, that I ended up getting hooked up into this game.
yeah, I remember your first character there.
Yeah.
Honestly, you didn't have your camera on for the first like 2 years you were playing.
Yeah.
Whatever. I thought you were a black guy, Chuck. I did.
I
You have a deep voice.
I didn't have a camera for the first couple of years we
Oh,
played.
there you go. I did when you turned your camera on first time, like, huh, that's not what I was thinking.
Holy shit, he's a white boy. That's racist. That's racist.
know,
kind
right?
of. So-
I got to tell you, and Les will vouch for this. My live in-person games, I am so lucky to have the group that I'm involved with, because we get together every Friday. There's a game every Friday
Yeah.
of 4 or 5 different campaigns. And from that grew Sunday night games where, you've got right now you've got a Sunday night game every
Sunday night.
Sunday.
Mhm.
I'm in 2 of them. This is the last one for one of them.
Yep.
I'm DMing one and playing in Mike's other game. So
Well, and yeah, I mean, you read these horror stories about people, and I think Eric sort of touched on it a little bit with the people who are sort of in these deserts of gamers, right? And there's no one around, they don't know anybody else who plays, and they find themselves sort of like doing solo play, or they just don't have anybody to play with. And just to echo Don, we have been massively blessed with not only people who want to play on a regular basis, show up and play in long-term campaigns and have a great time with it, and are great people. Well, we've got so many of them that sometimes we have to like turn them away,
Yeah.
which is crazy. But it's like somebody was like, "Les, your games, you always have 17 people in your games." I'm like, because I can't say no to anybody. That's what it is. But yeah, we have. Don's absolutely right. We're super fortunate in that every Friday night we've got an in-person game going on somewhere, and every Sunday night we've got an online game going somewhere, and it's usually more than one. It's great.
When I first joined your game, I was like, I think you, Mike, and I, who I all knew, and Mike Dowd, and you and I were all like VPs of our respective roles. So I always thought of our game as the executive level D&D. Like they're all like a little more gray haired now. We're established in our careers, career paths, and like, oh, I'll be off on executive level D&D tonight.
Yeah, I've got to.
Got-
I've got to go. I hope
got
my
a point
suit. My
time.
suit's been pressed.
Yeah, I've got a tea time of 9 o'clock with Les and the boys.
Dowd. I miss having Dowd in our game. So he played in our. So that's the story of Ty, right? Good luck, Ty. We made him a cake. Uh, when he left, when he was moving back to Boston and leaving our Star Wars games, we were playing a Star Wars game, and where did Ty come from? He was like one of the stormtroopers that we,
I
like
was just this random stormtrooper that he was the last one alive, and we left him let him live.
yeah, we let him go. And
That's awesome.
He just kept coming back.
he just kept
Whatever
showing back
thing-
up. And so
That's
when Dowd left, we had a cake made for the final game night, and it said "Good luck, Ty. We'll miss you" on it. It was just a stupid thing. But yeah, I haven't talked to Dowd in a long time. I need to reach out to him, see how he's doing.
Yeah.
All right. So
Okay.
my next
Question about Dowd real quick.
Okay.
Council of Thieves.
Yep.
His archer, ranger, whatever, shot Mub in the ass like 4 or
Yes.
5 times.
Yes.
Were all of those actual fumbles, or were some of those on purpose?
Not all of them. They weren't 100% all fumbles, but a surprisingly large amount of them were. So, and most of the time when you accused him of shooting you on purpose, it was an actual fumble. So, so yeah, he shot you like what, 4 times, something like that.
5, yeah.
Yeah, 5 times. Those were great. But all right, so my next question is: so 2 years ago, or 3 years into the game, we abandoned Little Black Books. We went back and forth about what rule set we could use. We eventually I manipulated you guys into trying Cypher System, largely because I wanted to try it. I've had all the Cypher System stuff. It looks super cool. I'd never done it. I thought, the best way for me to get into it would be to DM it for these guys. So now I ask you this: with what you remember about the Little Black Books and what you've gamed, what do you think of the Cypher System way of gaming? I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about that.
I liked the cipher. It gave me more. I really like structure.
Okay.
And Cypher seemed to have a lot more structure to it. There was rules I could follow. I wouldn't mind playing it again.
Okay.
Because unlike the Little Black Books, your character is your character. He never improved. He never changed or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
Cypher lets you develop a character. Not quite as fast as D&D or Pathfinder, but it does let you create a character. And that's the type of game I've always been used to. So I do like that about Cypher.
Okay. Was there something that you especially did not like about it?
We didn't level up as often as I wanted.
Well, they don't really have a
It doesn't lend to that. It doesn't lend to that.
You guys got to
It's
level up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
sometimes I forget.
You're talking about improving. You get to create a character and improve it. What?
What? Yeah. What?
Not since 2023.
I was
There's
gonna
no levels. There's no added points. It's the same. My character sheet today is exactly the same as my character sheet when I first made it up, with the exception of I was given some armor and a better weapon,
Yeah.
which I don't use. If I'm shooting at something, the rest of you are dead.
Don, I was gonna say that I forgot that. So it was like late 2013, early 2014. Don's I joined his game and he goes, Don's gonna reach out to you. He wants to tell you some party rules or something. And you reach out to me, you're like, don't trust Kaltra. Trust me. Trust Mub. But don't trust Kaltra. I'm like, what? Who the hell is this weirdo? They're like, but I should have listened to you because Kaltra's a shady dude, man.
I was right,
Killed my
wasn't I?
character, yeah.
Yeah, Doug likes to play shady dudes.
Yeah, but so does Don. So it's kind of like,
Well,
He's
You
lovably
have-
he's lovably shady though.
you have no idea. If Don tells you to believe him over somebody else, you don't know,
Mhm.
because he's just as much as a shady liar as anybody else.
The
now,
thing is that we just assume he's
I
shady.
play some shady characters. Not all of my characters have been shady, but some of my characters are shady. But
Name
I've never
one.
been against the party like Kaltra does.
Yeah, but
Says the guy whose pockets are full of party treasure.
do you get
and-
painted with the broad brush that all your characters are shady now? Because I just assume.
Oh
you're
yes.
coming in
Oh
shady.
yes.
Yeah, and whatever character you play, like I gotta watch.
Yeah, I could play a paladin. Oh, he's a shady guy.
Yeah.
He's actually an anti-paladin in disguise.
Mm.
I'm not.
We'll just loan you the book, the Paladin
Yeah.
book.
He's actually
Yeah.
three kobolds in a chainmail armor.
All right, so
I do
Eric,
love.
go
So
ahead.
we're off topic as far as Traveler goes, but I do love the night that I joined the current A team,
Oh, Wrath of the Righteous, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Wrath of the
Oh, when
Righteous.
they found you in that
caravan
Right
guard.
when
Caravan guards.
Marco was playing or watching,
Marco.
and
and I'm like, my friend Marco has decided to sit in tonight, so blah 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 blah.
In hindsight, let's all be honest. We should have left that elf tied up in the cave for whatever was going to happen to him. Should have let natural selection take its place.
Yeah, we haven't even reached Dresden yet. He was on the road to Dresden. We found
Right.
him in that little
Yeah.
shrine, whatever.
All right, Eric,
I'm-
thoughts on Cipher system. What
Back
did
to
you
Cypher.
think from the changeover?
I'm really stuck on 1E.
Okay.
And I thought Cyber System was I appreciate its virtues. It's not my first choice.
Okay.
I really like, I think, Pathfinder the best.
And I would have to concur. If I had to choose between the two, I would probably pick Pathfinder first edition rules. I really like those. And I tend to agree. I wanted to try it, and I'm glad you guys indulged me on that.
I'm glad I tried it.
Yeah, I'd be okay playing another. I don't know that I would play in a long-term campaign about it, but I could see myself playing Cipher System in a different milieu or a convention or something like that. Now, that said, Andrew, when we had talked about switching over to the new rule set, you were a bit. I was looking through some of the emails earlier today, and you were a bit dubious about it. You were like, I'm not sure I want to switch. So, from that point of view, what was your feelings once we did switch? What did you think about the Cipher System rules as it pertained to this campaign?
My recollection is more that not about switching rule sets, but my recollection is that when Eric's first character died, I was close to death, and I said, I don't know if I want to come back. That if he dies, just let him die.
He dies.
Right. Again, it's just I'm not a rules lawyer. It felt like the Black Book was more free form,
Okay.
which was good and bad. It was good in that, just whatever. Let's test less and see what I can get away with.
What if I can talk him into?
All right.
You just
The
wait
other
for
rule
11 o'clock
system
and get in.
was trying to remember this minutia of how many points can I burn now and which points can I burn.
Yeah, it's an interesting mechanic, and it can become that the one you mentioned where you have to burn points to sort of improve your rolls and the DCs and stuff like
Right.
that. It's an interesting it's an interesting mechanic, but it can be kind of clunky, especially if you're using material that's homegrown, right? So a lot this particular this Traveler campaign, I prefer when I DM, I prefer to start with pre-written material, which I then go on to modify quite a bit to suit either the path of the game or my own my own indulgences, whatever. But usually I like to start with a core of pre-written material that I build upon. In this case for Traveler, I did not have that, right? So I'd had a bunch of Traveler stuff that I had been collecting for years. And I had a general idea of the kind of campaign that I wanted to do, but everything that you guys experienced over the last 5 years for this campaign was basically I came up with. I wrote it. There was almost no pre-written material. I tried at one point to sort of get some of the I looked at a lot of the old adventures that were published for Traveller, and see, how can I wedge this in? But again, a lot of that material is from like the 80s, and it deals with Traveller. So when we started this game, I sawed off a lot of the parts of Traveller that I didn't like the made-up stars and the aristocratic sense and the weirdly feudal system. I just sawed all that off and replaced it with what I thought would be more realistic. But because of that, it disallowed me using a lot of pre-printed material. It just wasn't going to be able to
I
be
thought
used.
it was fun. That was a big fun of it, is you could go anywhere. Like, I know a guy.
Hmm.
I think that ruled a large portion of the game. That was fun.
We got away from that a little bit. I was just telling Les, I watched the third episode of Star Wars Skeleton Crew. It has Jude Law and a bunch of kids. It's kind of like Goonies in space. It's
Right.
entertaining. But in the third episode, they're like, "Where are we gonna go? Where are we gonna go?" And Jude Law turns to him and goes, "I know a guy." And like,
Yeah.
but he's like, he turns to him again. He's like, "I don't really know how this is gonna go. We didn't leave it on the best terms." And I'm like, this is a
I've
he
seen
told her
this.
to know a guy.
This is I know a guy. Yep.
Yeah.
And it originally comes from Star Wars too. It was a Han Solo in, I believe, Empire Strikes Back, when they were going to see Lando Calrissian.
Oh yeah, Lando
Right,
Calrissian.
yeah.
I
And
know
so
a guy.
that's where the whole I know a guy comes from. Han Solo knew a guy who was Lando, but he wasn't sure what his reception was going to be, when they were on the run in Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, it's funny that they should echo that back in the newest Star Wars stuff. But yeah, we had a lot of interesting ones. So there was Palmer, who was your I know a guy, which we built an entire adventure around.
Right.
And he's the one I have questions about because there's two big plot lines that we never fulfilled from him.
Oh, there's more than two. Trust me on that.
Yeah, but two that like off the top
I,
of my
w-
head.
I was dangling some pretty whopper plot lines in front of you guys, and like snoozers, nothing. But so there was Palmer. There was there was Dan's friend in the military.
General.
Not the general. Was that it? The general come from Dan? All right, so yeah, there's that. And then the general had a
Oh, yeah.
friend who was like this like super important CIA guy. So that didn't work out well. But then Dan also knew a guy in the military who was like on the ship. I can't remember.
So, I don't know if I can say this character for another time, but I created a I know a guy pre know a guy because I thought maybe we are gonna get slammed in prison. So I created a I know a guy who's an assistant warden at so and so. And
Nice.
so
Well, it was through Palmer that you guys met Seventide. Because he was like, I gotta, it was Palmer doing I know a guy. I know a guy that will sell you guns. And so it was like it was like a chain of I know a guys that eventually, brought about your downfall. So, all right. So not a lot of love for the Cypher system. Matt, what'd you think?
I think it's a superior system to Traveler. I didn't like it at all. I'm sorry.
You didn't? Okay.
I like Traveler for the same reasons Andrew put out there. I like the free form of it. I like the simplicity of it. Like as my brain gets less elastic as I get older, it's harder for me to absorb new rules and whatnot. And I
Mhm.
played a lot of different types, and I like, like I've been buying a lot of little RPGs lately, the little booklet ones, just because I want to start something that.
Like Shadow Dark and
Yeah. And I got
and
trophy gold. I just picked up mazes or maze.
Blades in the Dark, and
Yeah. So yeah, I've been
trying to
collecting
dig.
a few of those lately. So when I'm ready to run my thing, I have some ideas how I want to put it all together now. But yeah, I like, and I think the indie RPG market has exploded, right? There's so many great stuff, and I mean, I don't really like solo journaling game, which is not really my thing. But if when I'm flying across the country or whatever, there's a ton of like a great solo journaling RPGs where you kind of like a choose your own adventure, but you create a character as you go, and if the story's revealed to you page by page, and I think it's fun.
Yeah, we really do seem to be in like a renaissance of RPGs. There's just so many good games out there. I just showed you Shadow Dark and Blades in the Dark, two games that I have the rules for. I haven't played them yet. We've got, and when you talk about miniature games, I've got Battleground, I've got Kings of War, I've got the new Warhammer stuff. I ran Achtung Panzer today at Impact Gaming.
Mhm.
Nice.
Yeah, which is awesome. Octum Pens is a really nice game. It's a nice warlord game. You know, I've got stuff everywhere. I've got PDFs. I've got a terabyte of PDFs of stuff that I've collected and stolen. You know,
When one of those Humble bundles came up, I got all like the big collected works of H.P. Lovecraft, all the Chaosium, Call of Cthulhu, you know, whatever the latest version of that is. So
yeah, there's just
Got all
so
that
many
s-
good games. I've decided that I'm going to run some new RPGs in, you know, at convention next year. So I'm trying to get people interested in doing an online one shot over the holidays for Vaesen, which we played at Gen Con, which was awesome. I want to run a Deadlands game. So
Wow.
Deadlands is like the Weird West, right? So it's like,
Never
well,
played it. I know, yeah.
it's like Boot Hill, but there's undead and Cthulhu and all that other stuff. So
And
you know,
wizards and all the other stuff. Played
yeah.
that too.
Yeah, it's really cool. And so my friend Luke loves it. You know, I've played it a couple of times with him at convention, and he just can't find
Whom
anybody
you've
else
known longer than my daughter.
who I've known longer than your daughter. Yeah, probably so.
You once no, you've said that before. You said, "Well, I've known Luke longer than Beth." No, you only know Luke because of Beth.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, so I'm trying to, you know, run those games, but there's
Dead,
just so many good games out there.
Deadlands is a cool game, but
Mhm.
the mechanics can be kind of cumbersome until
Yep.
you get really accustomed to them. And if any of you guys get a chance, I would suggest it, but don't make the mistake I did. I
What was that?
decided to get into the spirit of it. I went online and on Amazon, I found a playing card set that was period accurate to 18 something or other.
Okay.
I bought this playing card set. They were really cool looking because I was playing a gunslinger huckster type, so I had spells as well. And then I couldn't read the freaking cards because they didn't have names on them. They were like 18.99, you know, like I said, period accurate cards. They don't say KJ1098. They just have little dots or the little shapes. And I put cards down. I'm like, what the hell is, oh, that's a 4. Okay. Well, so I needed the idiot cards that put names on them for
Did you
me.
get the big ones like grandma uses or
No. Like I said, it was a small pack. I still have it around here somewhere, but it's a period accurate to whatever time frame we were playing in deck
nice?
of cards. It was like $10 on Amazon, so who cares? But
Very cool.
then I tried to use it and I couldn't read the cards half the time, or I'd have to stop and go 1, 2, 3, 4,
Yeah.
5.
Yeah, when you get in this, it's for 3, it's fine. When you get to 7, 8, 9, you're just like, how many
Is
is
that
that?
a is that a 9 or a 10? Damn it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So
So
don't do that. Don't do that to yourselves.
that being the case, Chuck, what did you think of Cypher? What was your thoughts on it?
I wasn't the biggest fan of Cypher. I mean, it worked out and we had fun doing it. No matter
Mhm.
what the game is, we're gonna have fun doing it. So
Yeah.
from that perspective, it's like,
Sure.
who cares? But I don't remember. I think it was maybe Don. So sort of the opposite of Andrew and Matt. I like rules. Within those rules, I can structure what I want to try to do. The freeform stuff, I mean, that's interesting and you can go nuts with it, but when you don't have the rules for anything, it's just a different mindset. It's like an artist's mind as opposed to an engineer's mind.
Right.
So I
Okay.
like to have the rules that give me this framework that I can basically do anything I want within this framework. And there are rules for how it works and rules for how it doesn't work, and you can go at it from that perspective. That's the part that I enjoy doing. So like I would love at some point to try and play a bard, but I really can't because that takes a level of creativity in the use of their abilities that I simply don't have.
Okay.
I watch Andrew play a bard. I'm like, that's cool. That's how a bard should be. He uses his, you know, his artistic brain and he's thinking all the time and he does this great stuff that helps the party. That's awesome. And then it has to occur to me, I would have never thought of any of that.
Yeah.
Right. So it's one of those stay in your lane situations. The thing about Cypher
Mhm.
is I have a difficult time with games that have like the task difficulty setting in Cypher is really
Okay.
a framework, but it works out to be, you know, somebody is randomly picking that basically. Well, not randomly, but you know what I mean.
Right.
They're randomly assigning a difficulty to it. So you can't predict anything about that. And that makes it difficult to me because then I feel like there aren't enough structured rules that I can plan how I'm going to deal with a situation and try to give myself the best chance of success, because the answer to X equals what is a random number somebody else has picked.
Right.
And
Yeah, and you know what? I bet that also makes it harder to sort of like one of the things that I saw you guys doing and being sort of confused is the wrong word, but having that was challenging was point management.
right,
You know, when you don't know what's coming,
Right.
don't
Yeah.
necessarily know how many points you need to hold on
Oh,
to.
yeah.
Right.
right.
Yeah. That's that's an excellent point. That is a really good point.
Because like in their task difficulty, it's like challenging is a 15. I don't think I ever saw a 15. It was always 20 or something.
Right.
And then you have to consider, which is kind of an amorphous thing. How good is my dice rolling? Which in my case, shitty. So how do you want to spend points to mitigate that so that you can try to be successful? And if you do that and your DCs are all 20, you're going to be out of points after like 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, very quickly.
Yep.
Whereas if you don't do that, you're going to fail more often than you succeed. Because even a 15 on a D20, a 15 is effectively what? 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, a 25% chance of success?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Without adding additional points to mitigate that, you're only going to have a 25% chance of success. And that's on something that's considered challenging.
Mhm.
Now you are able to lower that because of your skills, but this may be too far into it. But the fact that you're really good at something doesn't mean that the difficulty should be higher for you.
Yeah, and that's a good point, and that's probably on me. I was trying so
No,
so
but it's
no, I
it
think
all comes back. It's a collaborative thing, right? You and us. And this is not in any way intended to be a slight on you.
oh no, I'm not I don't I'm not
But
going
we
to take it
saved that
personal.
for a different call.
Yeah.
That's a different
We can
Zoom
do it in
meeting.
this
That's
call.
one he's not on.
Yeah.
That's
Right,
one less is not on.
exactly.
Yeah,
Nice.
airing of
But like-
grievances call.
You're looking at, you have a party of X number of people.
Someone's
They
supposed
have
to this.
this many skills and they have this many points. So your challenge at that point is I need to challenge them
Hmm.
to where they have to use their points to get through it, or they feel like they've accomplished everything with no challenge at all.
Right. Yeah, and that's the
Or-
large part. That's what I was thinking.
Or if I don't do this and I just make everything a difficulty of 6, they're going to blow through everything and that sucks. Or the opposite is, if it's too difficult or you have to spend too many of your points, you can do 3 things and then it's like playing a first level magic user.
Right.
I throw my magic missile, I need to go to bed. I'll
Yeah,
see you
I'm
guys
done
tomorrow.
for the day.
I
Yep.
need 8 hours, right? So it's trying to balance that. And I don't think the game as written, the rules as written, I don't think they give you an ability to balance that fairly, I guess. And it doesn't give the players the ability to overcome any of that in a way that allows you to, like I said, we don't go up in level. Maybe some of you did a little bit, I don't know. But you
No, I
don't
don't
go up
think
in
we did.
level. So your character is what your character is. It's got this number of points. So that's all you're ever going to be able to accomplish. The games that are, and like I said, it's just the way my mind works. The games that are too freeform, they become difficult to try and balance from your perspective as a DM,
Mhm.
and they become difficult to try to predict and balance from a player's perspective.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, it is. And I was so you hit the nail on the head. I was in many cases trying to make things challenging to you guys so
Right.
that it wasn't a walk in the park because those kind of games, those kind of games are not fun either. I mean, if it's
Yeah,
too
they're
it's
boring.
too tough and you get killed every 2 seconds, well, that's not fun. If you're walking over every challenge, that's not fun
Yeah.
either. So I was
No.
trying to sort of walk that middle way, and I don't know that I did a great job at it. The other side of that coin is it goes back to something I mentioned before, which is like I like to start with a lot of pre-printed material
No.
and build on it. And that pre-printed material is usually pretty good at assessing those challenges effectively, right? It's
Right.
especially if it's from a big company, if it's from Paizo or if it's from Wizards or Chaosium or whoever makes Call of Cthulhu. Those guys who write those adventures have got a pretty good idea if it's going to be challenging or not challenging and that kind of stuff. For this was all coming out of my stupid
Yeah.
bean, right? And
Well, yeah.
not only that, but we were trying to sort of, I mean, we had already wedged several square pegs into several other round holes to make this work in the first place. This was
Yeah.
like one of the bigger square pegs going in the round hole. So it's like, and I didn't have any sort of level set where I could go back to a pre-printed adventure and say, okay, this is where it should be. This is okay. This is the guideline for me. I didn't have that. I was sort of making it up on the fly.
I think
Yeah,
that's
there-
part of what
there's no-
made it fun.
Okay.
There's then why I wanted to play was I wanted to I wanted to adventure in your fecund imagination, and I felt like I did that.
No, I would like to say, no matter what the rule set is, I don't care what game we're playing, what campaign. My favorite part always a skill challenge. I love
Skill
a
challenge.
challenge.
I love a good skill challenge. I love a good skill challenge.
Well, and like
I'm
I
not,
said,
I'm not into killing cute fuzzy animals, but that was one of my good
Yeah,
memories.
that was
We're
pretty
coming
awesome.
up to the scariest skill challenge ever in A Team.
Oh yeah, we are.
Oh yeah, it is pretty tough.
But like I said from the beginning of this, it doesn't really matter what rule set we use or what gaming system we use. We all get together and we have fun with it.
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
And,
Yeah.
and that includes you because you're obviously a major part of that. But the difference, I think, I've played in a lot of different gaming groups with a lot of different personalities, some artistic, some engineering, as far as that thought process goes.
Mhm.
This is a situation where I am pretty confident there aren't really any adversarial relationships.
No,
I
What,
hate you, Chuck.
interpersonally? I hate you, Don. Be worried.
Well, I hate you too, Andrew. You
Thank
artistic
you.
fuck. Why can't I think like that? But no, what I mean by that is it not necessarily the none of the players don't get along.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't get along with most people, but
You really?
so no, that's a joke. Not really. But I mean, as far as the characters are concerned, I don't really think there's an adversarial relationship with the game.
Yeah.
Or with the game master or with that kind of thing. Now we have some mock adversarial relationships and within the groups based on characters that you've created.
What are we talking about? It's all kumbaya.
I've already put my after action report in with Les, and he already knows that once A Team is done with their mission, that the caravan guard is not allowed to come to his house ever.
I don't see how I survived this. Flash survives this, but he does. He's got this Skyway car wash plan. That he's got. He just wants to settle down. And, in his post Herald years, just
There's one
Just
sky
watch it,
whale
Sky.
in all of the Prime Material
no, the
plane. You're
Skyway
gonna
breeding
start a
program. You
car
don't even.
wash.
And I have. I already told Les what my what he started with his money. What we all did. He doesn't really need money, so he's had the same equipment for a long time. So I put my money into something else. Les, do you remember what it was?
I got it somewhere, but I don't remember off the top of my head. No.
it's a type of cryptocurrency, though.
I'm guessing it was Bitcoin.
Yeah.
Slavery.
Yeah, that's the opposite of slavery. I got agents on the on Don's girlfriend's plane to start a underground railroad.
Oh, that's right. That's right. I
so
do
poured
remember
all my
now.
money into that.
He's
So
starting an
I-
underground railroad in
And,
Illusionera.
and who are my agents? Who did I get? I asked Diomede to take in a neutral party, because we need somebody in between. And who did I get? I get the couch shitters.
The couch
behind
shitters. Yeah, he's getting the couch
the-
shitters on his like
Yeah,
the behind the couch guys.
No one's gonna suspect them.
What was his name? Headley? Hen? Something like that.
Yeah, Hedwick. I forget.
Something like that. We would drink all your
Yep.
vodka and shat behind the couch.
Yeah. So anyway, that's what my character is doing in his anti-slavery abolitionist of the lower plains.
There
That's
you go.
cool.
The John Brown of the abyss.
That's
I love
great. That's cool. That's
So
cool.
I need to ask Les.
And it's all in promotion
asked
by
us-
Diadine.
Did you write essays about how we spent our summer vacation?
No, you don't have to write. Yardley, it was his name.
Yardley, that's like.
You don't know. You don't have to write essays, but I am
No,
curious.
You asked us what would our character do.
Oh, these
Right.
characters. Right.
These characters.
Yeah. So
and-
what do you got?
Well, I didn't write anything, but I was waiting for some of you guys to sort of come out.
Presumably,
But I
everyone
have some
honored your
ideas, right?
request,
Right. So I had some ideas. So for you, so basically this is how I saw things ending. You guys would rescue as many scientists as you could, got them out of thing, go back to the front, bust out of space, and essentially the entire operation of Project Oberus or Orbis collapses because they've screwed it up. Terran military comes in, isolates the place, you know, that kind of thing. You guys eventually go back to Mirabilis System and the Spofulum Corporation, who is very pleased with the outcome of this. You brought back their scientists. They get a lot of information back, and they essentially give you financial rewards and potential employment. Go ahead. What were you gonna say, Dan?
Do we get amnesty for if we broke any laws?
Yeah, just say that there was like some sort of misunderstanding on a planet with the local constabulary.
Well, you still have Keith Smitchy in the ship, so
Oh yeah,
Oh, right.
I just remember being
Again, do
in
we
a
get
gunfight.
amnesty?
yes. Well, so the reality is that the Spofulum Corporation is a huge multi-system concern,
Right.
right?
They
They could
own
protect
enough.
you. They have lawyers. They would, yeah. So ultimately, you guys would have been cleared of
We'll
criminal
play
charges.
Weird
Okay.
Guild or whatever.
Although
for
the people in Greenport might still be a little miffed.
Yeah, probably.
I'm happy to play Weird Guild or whatever for the fallen officers at whatever what city was that in Mirabilis? Where were we when we got into the gunfight?
Oh,
Not
that was
Kinsale.
Greenburn Station, wasn't it? Oh,
No,
wait, no. That was
no.
in Cymbeline.
Cymbeline, yeah, Cymbeline Station.
Yeah, so Cymbeline Station. So to answer your question, Andrew, what I had envisioned was we never really figured out why Dr. Wagner, who was such a talented physician, was serving as a ship's physician. We had some
Some ideas.
Oh,
clues.
Oh.
Penis collection. The random random organ removals, that kind of stuff. That kind of thing. So there may have been, he's going around the bend. But I always envisioned that Dr. Wagner, that Spofulum would recognize that Dr. Wagner was a very, very skilled physician, regardless of his personal peccadillos, and that they would put you on as a surgeon in their corporation and and assign a lawyer to you to
Just
make
one?
sure that one, there were no murders, and if there were accidental or even on purpose murders, that kind of got covered up because they would have recognized your talents and your contribution to the betterment of the corporation. So I always sort of envision you being sort of a surgeon within the Spofulum Corporation.
So what the email where you said, what do you envision your character doing when this is over?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did you get back?
That I have to go find. So let me see. I gotta go find it.
Go find what? I'm sorry.
So Andrew sent me back. I sent out an email that says, "Give me an idea of what your character
Oh, I forgot to send you that.
would do." And
I can
so
tell you
so
mine.
you want me to just read it?
Yeah.
I don't know. I was wondering what everyone else thought.
So Dr. Wagner had Andrew had a very different outcome for Dr. Wagner. He said Dr. Wagner would likely use his riches to settle down and buy a farm. And on his farm, he'd have some sheep with surgically attached tiger and bear penises. His horses would all have neural lace so that he could say giddy up telepathically, and his wives would be young and fecund, with beautiful breasts, front and back.
Nice.
His children would be well educated, especially in medicine. His plush farmhouse would be large enough to accommodate his burgeoning family. Dr. Wagner's study would lead to his laboratory replete with the latest, most advanced medical tools. Some would be stealthily tucked away for reasons. Occasionally, he would receive visits from strange people from strange places at strange hours. The neighbors wondered but didn't dare ask, mostly because speaking with the highly uncharismatic, though not terribly unfriendly doctor was unsettling to them. The locals would be nervous, but yet they would still come around when they needed medical attention. There would be this would be where the expression "a healthy baby with 10 fingers and 10 toes" was an affirmation after counting, rather than the cute expression it is today here on Earth. Headlines and birth announcements abound that include the word polydactyl. And that's where Dr. Wagner
That's
saw
a beautiful
himself.
story, Andrew.
So, but excellent. So yeah, I always sort of envisioned that would be off. That would be the kind of thing that your characters would do. Now, I don't know, did anybody, a couple of you sent me, Eric sent me one, but he didn't say anything. So he didn't really have anything. And I don't think anybody else sent me
I can tell you what I think, but
any
I can send you
ideas.
something.
So yeah, okay, so Chuck, tell me what I'm sorry, Matt, tell me what happens to Weberjix after the fall of Project Orbis.
Well, Weber Jix is he's a man who likes to make deals, right? He feels good that he did good in the world, but you know that he shouldn't stand in the way of being noble, shouldn't stand in the way of making a few extra coins. So he saw in his adventures with his crew a few areas where he could easily make a little extra, and one of them was establishing a better uh, system to the Tufickian system to get that whiskey up and moving a little faster. So he wants to go into Tufik distribution and get that to wider places, but also even though he's a tentacular horror, he has a real soft spot in his heart for Colonel Seventide. So he might spend a little more time, on the outlaw trail with Seventide and his crew.
Gotcha. Okay.
Because I like to think he rides into Valhalla with a jellyfish on his side.
There you go.
But at least two of his next ex-wives will be Tufikkian, strong Tufikkian women.
Somebody who can take you.
Yeah, exactly. Somebody
There you
take
go.
me, but also carry me home from the pub.
Perfect. What about Bishop Hawk? What where's Bishop Hawk go? Does he go back to Cymbeline? Go back to work for Sergei?
Probably not,
Okay.
because I realize you're being nice and saying we're getting pardons, but I think his name has been associated with some brutal shotgun killings that happened there. So
Yeah.
he's
No,
probably
they
not
didn't
going to go
happen.
back.
That's the whole idea.
He's probably not going back to Cymbeline. I assume his goal was to try and save Mira as one of the scientists on the station. If he's successful at that, then she'll go back to I guess the Spot Film Corporation and maybe get another job with them.
Mhm.
Because she's a scientist and they spend a lot of time asking if they can do something, but not enough time asking if they should. This big giant hole in space is probably one of the you shouldn't.
Yep.
Then after that, I don't know, he'd go find himself someplace to live in a city somewhere else.
Gotcha. Okay. Go back to doing AI repairs and maintenance.
Well, no, because I assume that after this, the financial compensation from Spa Film Corporation is going to be enough that you don't have to work for a while.
That's probably that's a good assumption.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
putting my money into flamethrowers, which I'm trading to the Tufikkian people for whiskey. Because flamethrowers are the perfect tool against those
The fungus.
Against the Cordy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to go and try to colonize or abuse any lower social people like the Tufickians. I'll just leave them be.
Mighty nice of you.
Plus their Wi-Fi sucks.
The Wi-Fi does suck.
But
The Wi-Fi does suck. Mehmet
oddly enough, I always when I thought about what the doctor was going to do, I always somehow thought that in the end he would make a decision and he would open up the universe's best rehab clinic to try to help people get addicted to all the shit that he got them addicted to in the course of his travels.
Honestly, I thought we'd be on some sort of cold asteroid walking down a long stone hall. We come to a force field and he'd be behind it in his jumpsuit and like, hello, Wagner.
All right, Mehmet Tam was an very interesting character. With some interesting promise, and the ability to shape change was something that you wanted very much for this character.
Yes.
And you didn't use it all that much. So I'm curious as to whether you felt that Mehmet was ultimately a disappointment in the way you'd envisioned him.
No.
Okay. All right.
So with Dan and henceforth Captain not being here, Mehmet Tam would take possession of the GMT. Because after all, he was the real owner anyway, at least in his mind the whole time.
Sure, of course.
what's the Kurt Russell movie where he's like the captain of a ship that's old, beat up?
Captain
think-
Ron. Captain
Captain
Ron
Ron.
with Martin Short.
So Mehmet Tam was the Captain Ron of space.
He's gonna
With the eye
become the
patch.
Captain Ron of space. But also he enjoys gambling. That was one of the things that
Oh,
he
that's a
really
good point,
liked
yeah.
to do.
Yeah,
And that was when he usually changed to his ultra persona.
That's right. He did do that sometimes.
So that's what he would basically do.
Become a professional gambler.
Become a professional gambler as Denzel Washington, known as Gawker,
Hmm.
and Captain Ron when he was looking like Mehmet Tam.
Gotcha. Okay, cool.
The
Very cool.
personas are different enough where no one would suspect they'd be the same person.
It's like, Captain Tam, can you put a shirt on, please? Like, he's wearing those board shorts and nothing else.
Yep.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, now Eric, Mallory. So Eric, you had the dubious distinction of being the only player in this campaign to have somebody die, your character die, to have two characters. And so the demise of Coffin at the Tyler place, I think that was a real turning point in this campaign. And I'm very curious as to if you've had any additional thoughts as to how Mallory, who knew Coffin, goes, what does Mallory do with the rest of his spacefaring days?
I felt like Coffin was very good at what he did, but he did only one thing, and that was shoot guys.
Yep, that's true.
And I felt
And torture people. Let's not forget the torture.
there was a little sting.
Sideline.
It was just
That was more like a hobby.
Yeah.
Anyway, he probably got justice served to him. He's a guy. I guess his alignment was probably chaotic, neutral.
Okay, Coffin's was.
That's what all
Coffin's was.
evil characters say.
That's right. Anyway, but Mallory, he was trying to do something else. He was trying to be a reformed version of Coffin. But I had a habit of shooting guys too. So
In your defense, I put a lot of guys in front of you to shoot.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of that's on me.
Well, so I'm gonna assume that half the galaxy wants Mallory in prison or dead. So I think Mallory is gonna also go see what Seventide is up to. And
Okay.
Also maybe set up a little home base on Tufik, because that was actually a cool place. I like that place. It was small, it was dense. The whiskey was good. Farmers, I like farmers. Farmers are great.
So
Farmers make good
Tufik
food.
does have a soft spot. Tam
Yeah.
has a soft spot for Tufik in his heart too.
Yeah.
So.
So yeah. Maybe a home base on Tufik or somewhere, and going around with Seventide and causing more havoc,
causing havoc.
Yeah, great.
So the creation of Tufik was an interesting exercise on my part, right? So
Great.
so
It was
I
great.
I read it. So I read a thing. So creating entire planets, entire cultures can be very daunting from a DM standpoint, right? Especially when you're in a space game where things can be completely alien, right?
Yeah.
So I was looking up, like, what is the best process for creating stuff, and they said, look, set down some basic principles about the planet and about the people and extrapolate from that, right? So for Tufik, one of the driving impulses was double Earth gravity, right? So that essentially drove a fair amount of what the Tufikians looked like, and to a certain extent, it drove what they acted like, because they're essentially dwarves, right, from the fantasy. So so that kind of thing. So they're also with that. So basically, I came up with a couple of presets. One, double gravity. Two, fairly religious, but not overwhelmingly
Not
so.
zealots, yeah.
Yeah, not zealots, and anti-technology.
Hmm.
So it's Tufik was, I had already sort of decided that Tufik was a sort of agricultural planet. And so I used those three precepts to sort of deal with. So from that point, I was able to extrapolate they're smaller in stature, they're stronger, they're anti-technology, so they don't use guns, but they're great boxers and wrestlers, right? And by any, since they've precluded guns, they're fascinated by them, right? They're both dismissive of the power of guns and fascinated by how they work. They're agricultural, so their towns are very spread out. They're focused on that kind of stuff. And by being religious but not zealotry, I sort of came up with this, like, the fated path that the path that you take is like sort of your fate. So it's sort of a almost Buddhist kind of religion, but with room to make whiskey. So it was there was, and from all that thing, so from that, the time you guys spent on Tufik doing the zombie thing, I knew I wanted to do a zombie adventure for you guys, so I just wedged it in there. I think, from those precepts, I had a pretty good idea of how your average Tufiker was going to react to any sort of specific kind of thing. So if you guys pulled a gun, your average Tufiker was going to react in a couple of ways. One, he was going to be surprised, and somewhat repelled, but also fascinated by it, like wanting to see how it works, that kind of thing. And also not scared of guns. Like, people who understand guns are like, okay, that's a gun. The Tufikers don't use guns, so they're kind of like fascinated by them, right? So they want to learn, they will approach rather than run away, right? So so it was like using that template, those lenses, I was able to sort of, whenever you guys did something, I was able to say, all right, how would your average Tufiker react to that? And using those lenses, I was able to sort of create, and I felt like I really created a sort of realistic, sort of lived-in culture that made sense from the point of view of where these people were coming from. And I don't know, maybe tell me I'm wrong about that. Maybe I'm wrong about it, but it felt right.
No, I thought it was great, Les.
No, I thought it was great. Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
thought
that
it was great.
The
if we
number
had
of
pulled
people,
guns on them, I think they'd have beat the crap out of us in melee.
Yeah. Oh, sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, they were supposed to. They were
Yeah.
supposed to be able to, but they were also, they weren't killers, right? So
Right.
killing
Yeah.
people was really not their thing, which is
No.
why, that sort of stems out from them being very good wrestlers and boxers. That was how, if you were resorting to violence, it was always what we would refer to as non-lethal violence.
right.
Right.
Killings would be accidental.
That's what they
events.
did to the hitmen, the guys that
Yeah,
came after.
they pounded
Yeah, they
them.
beat 'em up.
They
Yeah.
just pounded on them.
Yeah. So, and I liked it. Yeah, I had there was a place for where we all got to be heroes there, like big damn heroes against minimally armed against some pretty ugly ass zombies that could have been fatal to any of us.
We were,
And it was entertaining too. It was like I hadn't seen The Last of Us before that, so I didn't really. I thought Cordyceps was, what a horrible way to go, right? Like, ugh. Now I've seen Last of Us, I'm like, ugh, even more.
It is a horrible way to go. Yep.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I really liked I as DM, I really enjoyed when you guys were on Tufik dealing with that. That was a really enjoyable period in the campaign.
Plus,
for me,
it ties into my character's need for high end scotch and whatnot. So like with the what is it? I forgot, not the Pappy Van Winkle, but whatever they're Tufiky and ale.
Tufiky and Scotch, yeah.
Tufiky and scotch, right? So that ties right into his thing.
So
Hanging around the bar in a low tech area right up his alley.
everyone on this call has watched Firefox, right?
Firefly.
Use the browser.
Firefly.
Oh, yeah.
Like Firefly.
Yeah.
I played Firefox from SNES, so like,
The Clint Eastwood Cold War movie? I don't remember.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh God, I forgot about that. Like that movie makes Iron Eagle look like an Oscar contender.
Oh, hey, no.
It does. It makes Iron Eagle look like a PhD dissertation.
No, Firefly, the episode where Jane was the hero of this one community
Yes,
because he stole from the rich and gave to the poor.
Yeah.
That's how I feel we're seeing at Tufik. We're heroes. We didn't really mean to be.
Yep.
It was sort of an accident.
Town
Yeah.
called Gin and Tonic or whatever. Yeah.
Because if Jane was ever a hero, it was certainly unintentional.
I know.
I don't know if you could see my Jane Cobb doll here.
Oh, look, he's got
Oh,
an
yeah.
action
cool.
figure.
I had somebody I custom knit him a hat. His Jane Cobb hat.
Nice.
Oh, cool.
I'm gonna send him there.
Oh,
Nice.
that's awesome.
All right. So my next question is: there's a lot of things that happened over the course of the last 5 years. There's a lot of interesting things. So I want I want each of you to sort of look back and think, what was for you, the most memorable incident during the campaign? What was the thing that you look back and remember? All right, this was the point in this campaign that I will remember.
I remember Coffin Doyle half alive with one arm. Coffin Doyle half alive with one arm. I'm hiding behind a vehicle, you know, taking shots from two different people. And Coffin Doyle jumps in the vehicle that I'm hiding behind and drives with one arm that he somehow convinced Leslie he can drive with no arms while firing his rifle down the hallway,
Yes. Yeah.
leaving me to be shot twice by two other people because now I have no cover, and nearly killing the entire party by creating a massive explosion at the end of the hallway. I will always remember that.
That was pretty good.
That's what I miss
Eric?
about the old rule set.
Yeah. I was
Eric,
like,
what about so conversely, what was your most memorable
Oh my
event?
God. Obviously the spoon thing.
The interrogation
Yeah,
of the
yeah, the
yeah,
interrogation.
the interrogation of the
we
enemy.
have
I
to
forget
talk
her
about
name,
that
but
character, what her fate was.
I don't even know how that happened. I don't know.
I'll be blunt. When you started talking about that stuff, and we're just all like, I mean, every face was just like,
So,
We're like, I guess
so I
I'll take-
remember during the spoon incidents, we're all like on
it
the
has
bridge
its own name, the
watching
spoon
monitors.
incident.
And well, we're all watching the monitors, and yeah, we all have the same reaction, like, "Oh my God, what is he doing?"
He's beating her to death with a soup spoon.
Yeah. Then I'm looking up at the recording button on the corner and they're like,
He let his inner CIA operative out.
Oh,
Anyway.
big time.
No, that was Coffin Doyle at his worst, I think. He was having
Yeah.
a really bad day.
He was having a bad day. Well, he wasn't the only one having a bad day.
Right. Anyway.
I know she was kind of an evil character, but she'd already gone through a lot. She got her eye ripped. She'd been shot, got her eye ripped out, had her neural lace stripped out by Dr. Wagner, who performed his tender mercies on
I
her.
did it
And then
gently.
goes into the Coffin Doyle interrogation room.
Well, Coffin
Cherry on the
sometimes-
sundae.
We deserved all the vengeance she was bringing our way.
Probably, Coffin was not a nice guy, and he probably was gonna get what was coming to him sometime.
Eventually.
Eventually, Coffin was your basic space pirate, not necessarily a great guy, but he was loyal to his friends.
Yeah.
Very loyal to his friends. He is going to go to if a general comes on board and starts shoving his friends around, that general's going down.
Yep.
He's very loyal
I was
to
going
his
to
friends.
say that same thing. You stuck up for me when the general was bossing me and threatening me,
No one comes
and
on
I
my
got blamed for it.
it's
You did.
You did.
really
So Andrew, you were at the center of many an incident over the course of the last 5 years. So I'm curious. So I'm very curious as to what the most memorable incident of the campaign was. What's the thing that you remember?
I think it would have to be the Demitas spoon.
You're going with spoon as well.
Yeah, I
Okay.
just like there's a psychopath. I'm glad we're separated by at least a time zone.
actually he Coffin is a psychotic, not a
Oh, I'm sorry. Forgive
Right.
me.
No, but no, actually, listen, Coffin would have seen the Shamira person as a psychopath. And Coffin, he's now, I distinguish psychopath from psychotic. A psychopath is gonna manipulate, kind of gaslight you, tear you down, do this, shimmy, shake, kind of manipulate you, really just fuck with your head. A psychotic is gonna get that and get incredibly angry. A psychotic is gonna freak out. Ah, you psychopath! I'm gonna kill you.
Yeah. Okay.
A psychotic is gonna just go into a hideous, horrible rage, but he's not gonna manipulate. He's
Okay.
gonna be, and when he's not in a rage, he's a great guy, and he's very loyal to his friends. That's Coffin.
Okay.
he
So we're having a semantics battle.
Yeah,
I think number 2 would be the New York guy who had a meltdown.
Oh yeah, there was that.
Oh yeah,
The
Jock.
general.
the general.
right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, so Coffin was subject to irrational rage, meltdowns. He was a psychotic, and
I
that
don't remember
comes
him being
from,
a psychotic, but yeah, maybe.
but he was not a psychopath. So, I mean, he's a good, honest psychotic. He's violent, he's crazy, but he's loyal to his friends, and he's got his
He
principles.
brought me espresso in the morning with biscotti.
You walked
Yeah.
my mom across the street.
So,
I just remember him shoot first, ask questions later. Kind of.
Yeah, I
Oh.
mean, so everybody in the party sort of had their job, right? I
Yeah,
mean, and
yeah.
Coffin was head of security, so I mean,
Yep.
his job was to,
housekeeping.
housekeeping, shoot people.
Housekeeping.
So, all right, Chuck, what about you? What was the most? Now you were only in the party for about 2 years, so only about 40% of the
Only
total
2
campaign.
years.
Yeah,
So only
so
2 years.
I was only in the party for a limited time, but I watched the videos. So
Mhm.
I'm going with the spoon incident because that guy's fucking nuts. And you
Eric is
say
notorious.
that you don't manipulate people, but that was a CIA level torture
It was.
trying to manipulate her.
Mm.
You're her friend, then you're beating her to death with a ladle. That was just off the
That was-
chain.
That was.
And I wasn't in the group at the time.
Even passersby were going, damn, that was tough.
Yeah.
And then if we're going to be from when I was in the group, it would kind of have to be a toss up. One was when we were getting Keith Spitchy out of his apartment
Okay.
because
Oh.
the number of times that Don shot the tree, the planted, the
Mm-mm.
potted plant, the microwave, the stove,
11
was-
warning shots.
that was just funny. And warning, I suck at shooting.
Fuck, it's shooting.
But then the
Buffer,
other
not a
one,
fighter.
playing like what is supposed to be an intellectual or a mechanical and a
Yeah.
computer engineer, right? So basically a nerd. When Eric went off in that flight station with shooting all those guys with a shotgun, and the only thing I think do was to slump on the ground, put my hands over my ears, and go ah, yeah.
Oh, man. Oh dear.
I would say
No.
the other time that I remember the most is the first time we met Seven Tide, and he made us go on his safari hunt. Or
The
Oh, yeah.
safari, the
Legend of
tiger safari.
penises, the Legend of the Tiger penises were born. As
Yes.
the doc was going along and detaching them from the mutant tigers.
So
So
I can't speak for Eric, but I hope I don't predecease you all, because if you deliver my eulogy, my family is gonna freak.
So the whole idea of the affront comes from a book that I read called Accession by Ian Banks, and if you haven't read it, it's a fantastic book. It's also a freaking brick. But if you read it, have you read Accession?
I haven't, but I've heard of it.
I've got a copy. My copy's around here somewhere. But but Ian Banks, I mean, his whole catalog is awesome. And I've read most of it. But Accession is probably, it's one of the, so everybody has those books that they reread every 2 years or so. And Accession is on my list of rereads. It's a great book, and it introduces the concept of the affront. And so that's where I
So
absolutely
they're not part of Core Traveler. I just thought there was something I hadn't come across before.
No. I totally stole it from this book and put and wedged it in. That was
Nice.
square peg going in round hole number
Oh, I
one.
like
So,
that. They
Yeah,
were
no.
they were very memorable.
yeah,
Everything
ve-
else is like anthropomorphic animals. So I was like,
yeah, and so I posited when I planted them in space. So I basically like said, okay, this is where the affront is, and there was another triplet of star systems like right near there, and I'm like, there's no way the affront's putting up with this, so I have to put up something with them. That's when I introduced the Kzinti into this thing. So the Kzinti aren't part of Traveler either. So I was like, the affront have to have some sort of counterweight. And so I use the Kzinti because I always thought Kzintis are awesome. So
and we never really came across the Kzinti, right?
you killed one at
one.
on Tufik.
And all
uh,
in seven times chip.
Yep, you hunted. I think 4 he had Kzintis in the ship. So, yeah, hunting sentience for fun. That was an interesting choice.
That's yeah, it's a dark time, but it was entertaining.
It was a
A
dark
dark
time for
A
everybody.
dark time.
Well, after shooting Grogu on the dartboard, as the part of the skill challenge. So
Like, I
And-
got his ear, finally.
you guys are like, yeah, it's the rabbit. I got the bunny.
He was
that
like
kind
Don or somebody or Andrew was going like it's gonna take us like 18 more shots to even come close to this. It's like impossible to hit this sucker. They're trying to calculate the odds. Like, never tell me the odds.
You never told me the odds. Yep.
All right, Don. Most memorable event for you. So we've got like at least 3 votes for the spoon incident.
Well,
Uh,
the spoon's up there for me.
it's up there.
So-
Yeah, it's in the
so-
top 3 probably.
Top 3. It's in the top 3. The spoon, the the blow up of the general.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
And so Chuck had mentioned earlier, if he's firing his gun, it means everyone else is dead. That was Tam. He was not the marksman, as proven by the warning shots.
The 11 warning shots. It's Keith Smitchy's apartment. All right. So
but
go
when
ahead.
we were fighting the we were doing the sentient hunt and everything.
Mhm.
I actually hit one.
Okay.
The very first time, with Clementine right next to me, he's like, "Oh, you're doing great!" Like,
All right.
I finally hit something with my gun, so that was a good point for me.
That was a great day.
Today was a good day.
Did
All
you
right.
throw
Yeah,
your
good.
gun and hit it with the frame or what? How did that? I don't remember you hitting it. I'm sorry. I might have blacked out
It happened so fast.
from
Yeah.
shock.
No one was paying attention because it was my turn to fire a gun. So
All right. So staying on you, favorite NPC. Now, Seven Tide is going to be a popular choice, but if there's one that's not Seven Tide, who's your favorite NPC?
who is our contact on the starbase that always helped us out?
When
The Russian
Yamazaki?
guy.
No, the Stacy and
Oh, Bill Scaramouche.
Bill Scaramouche.
Bill and
Okay.
Stacy. A whole generation of people named Bill and Stacy.
Yeah, yeah.
That was hilarious too, Les. Is that from a book or I don't know that
No,
one.
I just made that up on the spot
I love
because
that.
you know how that happened. So, you guys met Bill Scaramouche when you entered the solar system.
The solar system, yeah.
And then you went and you got into. So this was an accident on my part because you got into the station and then you met an entirely different NPC and you asked what his name was, and I said Bill. And
Yeah.
I'm like, and my idiot brain went, well, you can't have 2 fucking Bills right in a row unless they're all named Bill. And I
Bill.
was like, ba-doing. And so I said, I think the second one was like Bill's cigarette or something, And so at that point, whenever you meet anybody in Greenport, it was either Bill or Stacy.
I was like,
Yeah, I love that.
this is
I
if
did
George
love that.
Foreman had a galactic empire, this is what would happen. They would all be named George.
Yeah.
So I did. I don't know if you guys ever read it, but on tinybatman.com, there's a post from ways back. It's from 2020 called "The Master List of Bills and a Stacy." At which point I went back through all my notes and I listed all of the different Bills that we had on Greenport Station, which included Bill Scaramouche, Bill Shittingford, Bill Tiefling, Bill Narragansett, Bill Megaburp, Bill Numberless, Bill Thaddeus, Stacy Frogs, Bill Neighbors, who was the neighbor in the apartment that you
Oh,
guys
right,
were
right, right,
investigating, Bill Fentanyl, and Bill Cigarette,
Bill
and Bill Francoeur. And there were other Bills, Bill Pendragon and Bill Testarossa, who did not have prominent places, but good names. So
that was great.
I
No,
thought
that's
the
it.
Bill
That's
was-
Tiny
that was a
Batman.
special memory there. Like we're going to Stacy's place and our contact is Bill. Like,
here we go. All right, Eric, favorite NPC.
Gosh. I thought you did really well, Sergey.
Sergey, okay.
So Sergey, I liked him. You played him just enough, not too much, not too little. You did just right with him. He
I
was a kind of,
completely stole him from The Wire, the TV show The Wire.
oh really?
You guys, I even used the same picture of the guy who was the
Never
actor
watched
who
The Wire.
played Sergey in The Wire. I used his picture as the icon, so I
Wait,
just totally ripped him off. Yeah, Google
Does
it.
Coffin Doyle was Omar, man.
Anyway, I thought you did well, very well with him. I liked Seventide. You did a great job. You really poured forth your entire soul into Seventide, and I thought this is gold. This is a work of art. I had a great time with Seventide. That's a big reason why Mallory is gonna continue his galactic hijinks with Seventide because he thinks Seventide is actually really cool.
Seventide for this campaign was what was the headless Aaron eyes that from Council of Thieves that you have in the birdcage?
Cosray.
Cosray. So Seventide was this campaign's Cosray.
I got a buzz.
You gotta get her in. You gotta blurred, but
Yeah, I gotta. Okay, keep talking. I'll get that
all right.
done.
Dr. Wagner, Andrew, your favorite NPC?
I I think Seventide was probably the most developed. I
Yeah.
think there were some really good ones, but Seventide was like that favorite uncle who made everybody feel like he was talking specifically to them and made each person feel special.
That's right.
There she is. There's Cosray.
Nice. Oh my God. I thought you were gonna get like a clip art picture. I didn't know you have
No,
an actual
no.
picture.
So
Wow.
Cosray was in our Council of Thieves campaign, and in the book, she's a one and done. But it's basically a beheaded Aaronise whose head through necromancy is kept alive,
Hmm.
and it becomes so in Council of Thieves they find the head, and every normal party abandons that head at one point. But no, they decided to bring it along, and Cosray finally convinces Mub to help her get her body back
You get a ritual.
with a
Yeah.
ritual, so it becomes a whole side quest that was totally made up. So there was that. So you were a Seventide fan then, Andrew?
I was. I think there were some other good characters that I can't remember which bill it was that we kidnapped, and I took this kidney or two.
I'm looking through the thing. I don't
That
know.
might have been your fan fiction you wrote after. Yeah.
Oh, could be. Yeah,
And then I
absolutely.
took his kidneys.
I just
Oh, you
feel
know
like
what?
Seventide was a good recurring, well-developed character.
Yeah.
And then there was, I can't remember his name, who was the I know a guy.
Palmer.
who-
Well, there's a couple of them. Palmer was one, and there was a guy that was it Chuck knew or somebody knew. Eric knew. John knew somebody.
where we went and visited his ship, and he was in a
In the ship that was in the asteroid?
That was
with the
Palmer.
library, and he was in a
That was Palmer.
oh, yeah. I thought he was interesting, but I think Seventide was probably the one that really developed and
Mhm.
blossomed.
He's fun to play too, for me, from a DM standpoint, because he's so gleefully malignant.
And yeah, he made Dr. Wagner a very low charisma guy feel special.
There you go. All right, Matt, who's your most memorable NPC?
I would probably say Seventide would be the obvious, Bill Scaramouche, and then the one that I felt that she was always in the wrong place at the wrong time, and she had to be like, oh God, I don't want to take this call. Was our contact between the Spoffyland Corporation?
Oh, Wem Yamazaki.
Wem,
Yeah.
she's gonna be like,
Yeah.
be like, Wem, you got a call from, oh, son of, I got to take this
Not
guy.
these fucking guys again.
How many police officers are dead? Okay. Let me just check this. Yeah, this is
Okay,
an
well,
untraceable
try
call,
to
right?
stay clean for a while, and
Yeah.
yeah.
I got to
And
burn
no
this phone,
killing.
so- No, I'll
Spe-
call you. I'll call you.
Especially cops. No killing any more cops.
Do you remember this in Pulp Fiction when John Travolta calls Eric Stoltz's character, and he's like telling him he got an OD and he's on his way to him. He's like, "Are you calling me from a
Backcaller.
car phone? Yeah, prank call, click."
All right, Chuck, how about you? What was your most when you think about the NPCs, who's your most memorable?
Well, Seventide, of course.
Okay.
because I mean, Wen had some stuff. A lot of the big stuff that they got into with her was before I joined.
Yep.
So she didn't get added much. I know about her because at one point in time I was kind of helping you with some of the information when
Yep.
I wasn't going to be in this group. But as far as actually playing, it would be Seventide.
I would say he
Gotcha.
was like a benevolent Jabba the Hutt for us, right? Because
He-
this big, I mean, it could have gone the other way. You could have made him a villainous character that we had to deal with, and but
He
you made him
is a
so
villainous
lovable.
character.
Well, he felt like there was like a James Bond character in like I don't know if it was the Pierce Brosnan years where he was like a retired Russian agent or whatever. There was always like he's always helping Bond with his schemes. Remember, he's not necessarily a good guy. He's kind of a gray character, morally gray character. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
I can't remember the guy's name, but he reminded me of that. You know, like somebody who can get things for you, and you put up with his peccadillos.
Yep. Yep. He, even after the events of the campaign, Seventide recalls his human friends very fondly.
Mm.
I like him. I like
All
him
right,
very much.
I gotta run to the bathroom. But my next question for you guys is, and so this goes back to a little bit more of less about the campaign. But so this is the first, well, certainly the first space campaign that we've played online like this. Now we did several years ago. A friend of ours, Mike Phillips, who you guys know, ran a Star Wars campaign
Right.
that was, I would venture to say, equally a shit show as this one was, from a variety of standpoints. So my question to you, and I'm going to run to the camera quick while you think about it, is would you guys be interested in playing another space game at some point? And if so, what kind of space game? Would it be something like Star Wars? Would it be something like Starfinder, or some sort of more realistic? One of the things I did with this one,
Right now.
yeah, is try to make this sort of realistic. Or Evil Genius has got just got has I don't know if they got Firefly, but they do have some space game. But think about that. I'm very curious to hear what you guys think about space games in general.
You do restroom. Yeah.
Space games. I like space. I like Star Wars. I like Star Trek. The first series. Oh, I don't know.
What about Deep Space Nine?
Never saw it.
Really?
I'm really stuck. I'm really hidebound. I'm 1E. I'm Star Trek or original series. I'm Battlestar Galactica 1978. I'm Star Wars 1977. Anything after 77. I have some really
That
seditious
Seditious.
viewpoints, like I'm Alien 1979, but Aliens, no,
What? Yeah.
like that. So, but anyway, I like Battlestar Galactica 1978 style. I like Star Wars 1977 style, where Han Solo shot first. I like Star Wars Trek 1966 style, when Captain Kirk can beat the crap out of a Gorn, or get beat up by a Gorn, but then shoot the Gorn,
Right.
And
His shirt comes off piece by piece.
that's right, and I
Time for
like
beefcake.
what I really like in a space role-playing game is a good doomsday machine now and then, please.
All
A good
right.
doomsday machine. And also what I like a lot, what I would love
about you.
in a space RPG a lot is actual real science anomaly.
Okay.
Like, what if we got slightly too close to a neutron star? Or what if you really got, what's space combat like in the atmosphere of a gas gi giant? Um, um, what resources are out there in space to be claimed and fought over, maybe? What would a water world be like? What about a black hole, of course? What, how would you handle the time difference? Because when you get too near a black hole, your time experiences is really different from someplace that's not near a massive object. How do you handle that when one character goes on a faster than light space trip and comes back, she's still age 25, but you're age 49? I don't know. I would like
Right,
some.
there's a lot of yeah, I like hard science too in the games, and the more, and I don't know if I tried to inject as much of it into this game while still maintaining it a gameness
Yeah.
as I could. I wasn't always great at it. I will be
You
the
did
first to
great.
admit.
I thought you did great, actually.
I bitched it up a fair amount, but
It's Traveler, man.
Someone called you out.
yeah, nobody called me out, which I appreciate. But yeah, no, so, and Don's heard me say this on a couple of occasions, is that one of the problems, I love Pathfinder, but I don't like Starfinder, because I feel like if you're going to play a space game, you're going to have guns and you're going to have lasers and that kind of stuff. You shouldn't have magic, and vice versa. And I just think they're two different milieus, and when you go about blending them, it ruins. It's like, what do they say about Christian rock? It doesn't make Christianity any better, and it ruins
Right.
rock.
Right.
So
Is that what they say?
I don't know. I'm paraphrasing. It may not be the case, but
That'd be a great T-shirt there.
Yeah.
yeah. But I feel like
Lessons.
blending. It's like I don't allow guns in my Pathfinder campaigns either, right? So even though there's the gunslinger, there's the various kinds of gun using tools, and I get that.
You know, we're going to journey to the Barrier Peaks.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think everybody looks back at their D&D experience with Expedition to the Barrier Peaks, and suddenly their characters went from sword-wielding fighters and magic-using wizards to laser gun using everything's, right? So
for us,
that
it was
module
one
ruined
laser
more
pistol.
campaigns.
Yeah, for us it was one laser pistol that the oldest kid got on our oldest teenager got in our group, and then it became a game of tyranny of who can I threaten with my laser pistol when you're over there with your +2 sword.
Right, exactly. So that particular module ruined more D&D campaigns in the 80s than anything else that has ever been written.
Except for girlfriends. That was the other thing that ruined a lot of D&D.
That's a good point. But yeah, so what you're saying, Eric, is depending on the level of hard science in it, you would play another sci-fi game.
Well, really, what I love is the characters. So
Gotcha.
the
Okay.
the characters are first, but the real actual science fascinates me. The James Webb stuff.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Astrophysics. The time. I mean, like, is a black hole a solid globe of time rotating at the speed of light? Or what would we do with that? How would you approach that? And
Les would ask
Traveler.
perplexity, and then he would.
Yeah,
Right,
I mean,
yeah.
a lot of that kind of stuff. I mean, there's some certain precepts like the inability to go faster than light. Obviously, that puts that creates a huge problem unless you're doing a campaign that would be roughly analogous to what's the show that was on
The single solar system or Westworld.
right, a single. Well, what was there was a big show, a TV show, did like 3 or 4 seasons.
Archer.
I'm sorry, no,
Archer.
not Archer. Although a lot of our campaigns sort of edge into Archer territory, but what is the name of that show? Where's the Rocinante is the ship?
Oh, the Expanse.
Oh,
5
The Expanse,
The
right?
Expanse, yeah.
So the Expanse is kept inside the solar system. So if you inside the current solar system, and it deals with FTL travel in that it doesn't deal with FTL travel. Everything is sort of like spun up. It's all
Earth,
different.
Mars.
The outer
belt.
rings,
Outer
yeah,
rings.
Delta.
the belt.
Delta Loda.
And I think they played it really. I think they played it really, really smartly. I think it made sense.
Mhm.
George Romero, or no, John Carpenter once said, to make great horror and science fiction, you have to take the real world and change one thing.
Yeah.
And he was, and I think it was really sort of suspiciously smart, that phrase, because it's the
Yeah.
idea of like, if you change too much stuff, then it becomes, it becomes the
Too
suspension of
fantastical.
disbelief becomes
Right.
yeah, it becomes untractable. So yeah, I think you're onto something, Eric.
There, there's a lot of great science fiction universes out there that, I mean, you could just even touch the edges of anything Warhammer 40,000. There's an endless amount of source material there. It's very dystopian, but you got Starship Troopers, you got
Hmm.
um all kinds of things. And then like some of the newest ones that kind of a new universe that hasn't really been fleshed out yet, but the Murderbot universe,
Hmm.
like that has that could be hilarious because you don't have to even be a human anymore. There's like they have multiple different ways you could go in that, and
Yeah, the
um,
Bobiverse would be an
the
interesting one too.
Bobiverse would be a great
Yeah.
one too. All like
Yeah, there's tons of really I mean, it always blows me away how super creative a lot of these people, our authors, are about some of this stuff. And it's just really good. I just went over to the Evil Genius. So Evil Genius Games makes a modern, so they wrote the D20 modern rules and they changed it, and it's now called Everyday Heroes. So it's for games set in a modern milieu. But what they've also done, which I feel is really interesting, what they did here is they essentially bought licensing rights to certain pop culture stuff. So I'm looking at it as they've got Escape from New York, The Crow,
nice.
Pacific Rim, Kong Skull Island,
Mm.
Highlander, Total Recall, Rambo, and Universal Soldier. So they own, well, they don't own, but they have licensing rights
Licensing.
The
to those,
licensing
to
rights.
those, to that stuff, and they write adventures for them. When I was at Gen Con several years ago, I played in the Escape from New York adventure, and we had an absolute fucking blast.
Mm.
Um, we at one point we were trying to break into the terrorist headquarters in New York, and I used the just knock tactic. So we had to break in there, and we were like, do we bust in, because then it becomes a gunfight and all that kind of stuff, and there was only like four of us, and we were like, what do we do? So I just opened the door and I knock on the door, and they're like, who is it? And I said, terrorist marketing department. I need to talk to you guys. And they're like, who? And I said,
What?
terrorist marketing. And they let me in.
Suckers.
But the look the DM gave me, goes, I'm sorry, what did you say?
I
Terrorist
know his
marketing.
look.
And I was just like, and he's going, terrorist marketing. I'm like, open the damn door, man. I can't stand out here. And they opened it up. It was great. We had such a good time with it. But yeah, they have tons of those kind of things. So something like Pacific Rim, where you have a kaiju kind of game, or
Yeah, that'd
Escape
be
from New
cool.
York, where it's in the near future, or Total Recall, where you have Mars and
Future
Mars is
various
Mars.
colonized, and yeah.
yeah, Mars is colonized and that kind of stuff. So there's a lot of
I can see Andrew with a Quato in his chest already there. Like totally
yeah,
cool.
exactly right.
Oh,
Yeah, and something like The Expanse, which I think would be a great traveler campaign milieu, right? Because it's realistic,
Hard science there.
and it's hard science focused, and it's right there. So that said, Andrew, would you play in another sci-fi campaign if the opportunity presented itself?
Is clothing optional?
Always.
I might.
Okay. So you,
Have,
so
have
you, so you weren't like turned off by the Traveler campaign, because we honestly we don't run a lot of sci-fi campaigns
Um,
games.
I think with the rule change, it felt like it was
Staggered a little.
yeah, and I get where Chuck is coming from. I do. I like having parameters sometimes, but sometimes I also feel like it's nice that just it felt a little more free form, which was fun. And trying to
Okay.
learn another rule set, I benefit from having the rules lawyers like
Mm.
Mike and I guess Gordon.
Hmm.
Because I just freeform, and sometimes I just yeah.
Gotcha. Okay.
So maybe sure.
Do you think you would prefer like Eric said, he prefers his sci-fi sort of games to have, that sort of background in hard science, or do you think that you would prefer something a little closer to more fantasy science fiction, like a Starfinder or Star Wars, where there's a lot of fantastical elements in it?
I don't know.
Okay, all right, that's a legit
I
answer.
think just the D&D makes sense to me. Pathfinder mirrors D&D. I get it. I guess I'm old enough. I don't want new things.
I gotcha. Okay, cool. What about you, John? Now you've played in Star Wars campaigns. You've played in this campaign. You've played Starfinder quite a little bit. What do you? So obviously, I think the answer
I'm
to
not turned off to sci-fi.
Mhm.
If I know Luke would love to play a Starfinder one.
Okay.
If I were to play another sci-fi one, I would probably lean towards Starfinder.
Okay.
Just because there is a set rule set that I'm familiar with, and going from Pathfinder to the Starfinder is not a completely new system. It's just spaceship. It's just
Yeah,
outer space system. Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not looking to join one. So you're wrapping up
I'm not looking to run
different
one.
campaigns. Huh?
So I'm wrapping up. So this would Traveler ends tonight, and we're going to use the open Traveler spots to finish up A Team quicker.
Right.
Wrath of the Righteous quicker. So that will end. Quarantine. B Team will continue as per. We're on like book 4 of 12, so we've got a lot of room to run with B Team. And there's a lot still going on with the War of the Burning Sky. Quarantine is wrapping up. I think we missed it last month, so it's been a while since we played Quarantine, but Quarantine's wrapping up. I think we have one more session if they get off their asses. They have one more session where they will find and kill, theoretically in one session they can find and kill a Klavdra and escape from Menzo Baranzan. And that will largely wrap up the Underdark part. But no, it doesn't wrap up, because I told them that we would have one more module, the Tomb of Horrors, and I said what we're going to do is we're going to do Tomb of Horrors to cap it off.
Just until someone dies.
We're gonna play it straight up. You die, you die. You live,
Right.
you live.
Right.
And straight open rolls for everybody. And but that would be the end of, and that would be the official end of the campaign. I think
So that's 2 sessions.
Yeah, so probably another 3 sessions. I may squeeze one in.
Right.
Maybe just over holiday.
So,
I have a
I'm
thought
not
for
against. Go ahead.
I was gonna say I have a thought for Tomb of Horrors, because people are gonna die and it's gonna be something different. Maybe as one of your sound bites, you have the Wilhelm scream just ready to go.
We have it ready to go.
Yeah.
And the Price is Right loser horn. So yeah.
Saxon bone.
So I don't mind the spaceship Starfinder campaigns and everything, but to tell you the truth, I'm not going to be joining a Sunday night one, because as we wrap things up, I've got Abomination Vault, which will go to twice a month, and I'm in Mike's campaign, which is going to go twice a month.
Right, so you're out of room.
So I'm out of room.
And then I think at some point I volunteered to run a campaign, so at some point we have to get that off the ground.
Yeah, I got to go back on my emails. But yeah, you I think you said you were going to run. I think you said you were going to run a space game. What was it? Worlds Without Wonder?
No,
or something like
Trophy Gold.
Trophy Gold. That's it. And that is a space game, right?
It could be. I mean, it's one of those, but mine's near future.
Gotcha. Okay. All right.
Well, maybe we'll see.
All right, Chuck. What about you? Would you play another space game?
Yeah, like I said before, it doesn't matter what genre, what gaming system, we'll figure it out. We'll have fun doing it.
We'll have fun. Yeah.
Much like Don said, I'm in B Team, so that's going to be 2 set Sundays a month. And I'm in Mike's campaign. That's the other 2 Sundays a month.
Yep. So your dance card's full too.
Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, at this point, I would like to, if I had perfect world scenario, I would like to try 5e just because I played every other damn edition of Dungeons and Dragons. So why would I skip the last? But
Yeah.
yeah, you know, it's one of those deals. It's like those aren't the games that are available right now.
Yep.
So
Gotcha. I've played it. I've DM'd 5e. It's not bad. It's a very accessible rule set. It's certainly not as well, I think one of the things that one of the reasons why it was so successful is it's not as rules intensive as Pathfinder.
Right.
So it's very accessible to new players, right? You can just
Yeah.
step right into a 5e game, and in 10 minutes you can be, you can have a character and be going.
Right.
It's very rules light.
I don't know that it's so much. I consider it. I wouldn't consider it rules light necessarily. It's one of those deals. If you've ever played a video game, like a long running one, like something online, when you started off, you had to manage this and manage that, manage the other, and then you built power that way. 5 years later, you have to manage this, that, and 52 other things, and it becomes too much. It becomes really difficult to try to, you almost have to live your life in that game online in order to keep up with all the new shit they've added over the years to
Right.
try to keep it fun, or so they think. Mostly it's so they can keep charging you money.
Keep
to buy
charging you
extra
money.
shit.
Yeah.
Yep.
But so I think Pathfinder 1 was originally an extension of D&D, what, 3.5?
3.5,
3.5. Yep.
Yeah. It was
Yeah.
originally an extension from that, and that's great. And then there are a bunch of third-party things that were added. So now when you're making a character, there's literally terabytes of stuff you can go through to try to make a character.
Yeah.
Which is good for people who've been playing it from the beginning because you just kept adding on to your knowledge. Somebody coming to Pathfinder 1 now is like, well, Jesus, I'm not going to get my head around all this.
Yeah.
And,
It can be
and
daunting.
Yeah, and so 5e, the rules for how spells work and action economy and turn economy and all that, those rules are set.
Mhm.
So that's good framework to work from. There are just far fewer choices that you have to make initially to get up and running. So it's a little easier, a little easier, I think, to start.
Gotcha.
Mhm.
Okay. I think I agree with that. I think that's there's it's the players and the story that make the game. It's not
Yeah.
necessarily the scenario.
And
All right.
it doesn't.
There's
it
a reason
doesn't-
why every noob should be a fighter in Pathfinder.
Right, exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it
yeah.
doesn't. It
Give the
doesn't
man a
really
sword and a
matter.
shield and work it out.
It doesn't really matter, like whether the game's expansive or whether it's rules, whatever. All of that is
Mhm.
fine. Again, it comes back to: do you enjoy playing the game? Do you enjoy playing it with the group of people you're playing
The
with?
group
Do
you're
you guys
playing
have?
with.
Do
Yep.
you have fun? And if the answer is yes, any genre, anything. Like I said, I've played Vampire, which is a
The
jacked up,
Masquerade?
yes, which is a jacked up game anyway.
You're so brave for mentioning this on a recording.
Yeah, and I'm admitting it, but it had nothing to do necessarily with that. It was the people that I played with I enjoyed. We had a good time, and everybody, seemed to like it. It's not a great system. And then they did the same thing I was talking about, where they added vampire, and I have mummy and werewolf and all this other shit to add to the World of Darkness.
Mummy?
Yeah, they had book.
You could play a mummy?
Yes,
That
you
would be
could
my
play a
character
mummy.
all the way.
And they just kept adding to it because I guess they felt
Lesmotep, Lesmotep.
like I guess they felt people were getting bored with just the limited stuff, so they always want to expand. But it was World of Darkness. It wasn't third party. They added that themselves. And if you're having a good time, you're having a good time. All
Yep.
the rest of it's kind of irrelevant, or by preference, by choice. Whether you like more structure, less structure, all that's just all.
Yeah.
Actually, I've been having such a great time with this whole campaign. Yeah, thank you. I had it's a great game, a 5-year game, time well spent, lots of fun.
Glad you
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Great, thank
All right, so I have
Yeah.
one more question for you guys.
Okay.
And
It's time to ask you some questions about these.
yeah, then you
Open
can ask
plot
me some
points.
questions if you want. So my last question for you guys is, what did I do wrong? What went wrong in this campaign? What did you go back and go, Man, Les really fucked that up.
Oh man, we've only got 40 minutes before 11.
Yeah, I know. We've got.
Alright.
It's holiday, so if we need to go over, we could take the time.
And
But yeah,
you're on the call, so it's no fun if you're on the call.
you want me to take a walk? I'll come back. You guys want to
If we're
compare
gonna
notes?
talk, if we're gonna talk trash, then you can't be here.
Well, no. One of the things. Well,
Keep
so
the
here's
recording going.
why I
Yeah,
asked this
yeah.
question is because I want I like DMing, and and I didn't do it for I didn't do it for a long time, and I was trepidatious about doing it, but I like doing it, and I want to be good at it. And several of you have approached me and said, have you ever considered professionally DMing, like for money, as a side gig and that kind of stuff? And I have considered that, and I'm a little bit reluctant to do that, for a couple of reasons. But even my wife, who is amazingly indulgent with all my hobbies, is basically saying, look, you probably can't become a professional DM now because you still have a regular job that you have to devote time to. But eventually, I'm 57 years old. Eventually, I'm going to have to retire. They're going to either throw me out, or I'll just get sick of it, and I'll just say I got enough money. I don't want to do this anymore. And it is as Marla pointed out, she said this would be a great thing for you to do when you're retired,
Yeah.
because you can make a little money, you can have a good time with it, you can that kind of stuff. So the reason I'm asking you this question is because if I'm thinking of doing that in any sort of serious sense, I want to make sure that I don't suck as a DM. So
Right.
I have a general idea that I'm pretty good at it because people keep jumping into my games, and I don't have a lot of people saying, really, it's Sunday night, I can't make it. Everybody's been really great, but I'm equally sure that there are things that I do that are not great, and that's what I want to know, so I can fix them. So so let me know what happened in Traveler that you were like, man, that didn't work.
I
I
thought,
didn't like to switch to the systems. We already talked about that.
Okay.
Uh, I understand the limitations of Classic Traveler, but like
Traveler.
I think we said, some of us simpletons are like, I like to simple, and I like going through that giant ridiculous arms catalog, which is like 800 pages of silliness. But and it reminds me of old school Car Wars and other games from those days. But
Mhm.
I can't think of anything else. I was wondering if maybe you were burning out on, because I know like I haven't GM'd in a long time now, but I remember doing running a Call of Cthulhu campaign for 5 years, and like that last year was really hard for me to come up with anything new. I was dragging ass every time I ran it.
I will tell you that coming up with something entirely homebrew is much more difficult from a DM standpoint than even as much as I modify the preprinted. Having the preprinted material there and the adventure path sort of already sort of arced out, and you don't have to sort of try and get from A to B to C on your own, is much easier. And I take a lot of liberties with that text, but it's 10 times easier than coming up with your own stuff. So I will, yeah, absolutely agree with you 100% there.
Yeah, the one thing Pathfinder does better than Wizards ever did, what are the adventure paths.
Mhm.
And it's amazing if you're behind the GM screen, the amount of detail that, why is this person here, what is their motivation, blah blah blah, that
Mhm.
the players may never know, but is there for you to introduce it to the players or not introduce it to the players. But they do a very good job. Now, I talked before about how lucky I am with the group of guys I play with. I think Mike and I are adequate GMs.
Okay.
Bob, we play in Bob's campaign out of tradition and the fact that if you survive, it's kind of like a point of honor.
It's a rite of passage, yeah.
It's a
Or
rite
to
of
die
passage.
even is a rite of passage, yeah.
It's as a GM, I don't think he's as good as Mike or I.
Okay.
Because he's always GM against player.
Yeah, he does take a very adversarial stance.
He's out to
yeah.
get us.
Yeah.
Where I don't think you, Steve, me, or Mike are like that. You and Steve are the best GMs in our group. And if your trepidation is, am I good enough? Put that to bed.
Well,
if you are.
It's
Now, I
not
understand
so
that you
much am
can't.
I good enough, because I've played with, I mean, well, you remember we've played with, you and I have played with professional game masters,
Yes.
and they weren't all that
You
good.
were so much better.
I'm not so much worried, but I'm worried about specific things that I may do that I may not be aware of. It's like Gordon, and I'll give you an example. Gordon one time, so I don't do many voices, but sometimes I do. And
Mhm.
Gordon pointed out that whenever I do a voice, it's always some sort of weird Cockney accent that I always go back to. And he's like,
Right.
"Oh no, not another Cockney dwarf NPC." And he said it as a joke, and it was funny, and I laughed, but that really stuck with me because I realized that I had been doing this that way since time
Forever.
immemorial, and I didn't
Right.
realize it up until that point that that's what I was
Right.
doing.
Every character, every
Every NPC had a Cockney accent.
that had an accent
It was so funny when I
yeah.
first joined. Like, everyone, that's hilarious.
So, so I've tried to, try to monitor that, but I'm looking for like, are there other things that I do that are fucky?
So you have to be a little more strict with the rules. I mean, there's been times when, like when Mike was playing, when it was his turn, he would then start thinking about what he was going to do, and you would let him draw from every source material out there.
I didn't realize he was
Um,
doing that. I was shocked at how good his spell choices were, but I didn't realize that that's what he was doing, that he was picking from
So-
every spell list.
So as a sorcerer, he's only supposed to know like 9 spells,
Right, I
but
know.
he's cast 55 of them.
Yeah, that's on me. I just
And
Okay.
that's what that's my criticism of you is that watch that. If it's a spell you haven't heard of before, say, okay, what spell is that? What's the source book?
Mhm.
And make a ruling right off the bat saying, okay, I'm not going to allow this type of source material, and I need to see a character sheet of yours or something. It's like, okay, you're a sorcerer at this level. You're supposed to know these many spells of these levels. Give me that list.
Yep. Gotcha.
You know?
Okay. Yeah, I let people get
Um,
away with stuff sometimes.
You
And
let people get away with a
unintentionally, but
lot. Not so much. You've slowed your drinking down, so it's
Well,
harder
yeah.
to get past stuff.
Shut up! I've gotten a lot less artifacts since then.
I know.
Good old ginger ale.
But
You're fucking with our magic item acquisition there, dude.
I know. No, the thing I would watch is that,
Okay.
letting people just play with any source material, kind of steamroll you as far as how many spells they have, or things like that.
Got it. Okay. Cool. That's a good observation. That's valuable. Thanks. Andrew, criticisms. What did I do wrong over the past 5 years in this campaign?
You're morally bereft. You
True.
open your mouth. Other than that, you're golden.
I wasn't going to mention that.
I struggle with morals and ethics, to be honest. The whole moral ethic.
Honestly, I have a lot of fun in your games. I really don't have any complaints.
Good. I'm glad you have fun.
And I feel morally bereft for saying it.
Welcome to the club. Eric, you have played in a lot of games. What did you feel like could be better? From a campaign standpoint.
I think the rule change affected me a bit.
In this campaign,
We did
Yes.
change horses midstream.
Yes, but that was okay. I could handle that. If my brain were less of a lump of calcium, I could handle it more easily. But I handled it. I really like everything that we did. I really, really liked all of the tactical situations. Like, how are we gonna blow these guys up without letting them blow up us? And how are we gonna rescue the serum for the Tufik thing without blowing up it and ourselves?
yeah.
And so on and so on. All the tactical, let's figure it out. Let's do teamwork. Let's try this and this, and that was fun. I really like storming the castle.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
You
Where
know,
you're taking a tactically challenging situation and sort of
Yeah.
thinking through the process and formulating a plan and then enacting it,
well, because
and then engaging in a frontal assault.
Basically,
Yeah, throwing out the
exactly.
plan instantly.
Exactly. Les, you've hit it on the head as always. But um, the long-term strategy I like in theory, but since we meet only about once a month-ish, I get confused at times.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, that was something. That's a good point. That's something that came up when Don and I and Mike were talking about how do we wind some campaigns down and do we. So historically, and this goes back probably 10 years since we've been gaming online. One of the things I do is we bring one campaign to a close. We start another one.
Right.
A different one, something new, something interesting. That's how this one started. We ended. I forget what we did. I don't know, something. Anyway, that's how we started this. So, but you're not the only person who has voiced that sort of like one time a month, especially for a long-term campaign, is just simply not enough playtime for people to sort of keep their heads in the game, to be engaged, to be active. And Andrew, one time, and I remember this, Andrew, you said this one time, and this is a couple of years ago, but you said we waste a lot of game time talking about what happened last time because we don't play often enough. And I
Right.
thought that was a really good insight on some of that stuff, because sometimes we would do and I spend a lot of prep time going back over things because I have to remember them too. So I would spend, sometimes an hour and a half going back through the video, and taking notes so that I could effectively bring back everybody sort of up to point zero where we were.
Right.
So yeah, I got to thank you, Andrew. That was a really good insight that you had back then, and in large
Great
part,
opportunity to belittle you.
appreciate that. But in large part, it drove a lot of the discussions that Mike and Don and I had about should we start new campaigns or should we expand the instances per month of the campaigns that we already have going. So it was both. Yeah. So Eric, that's a great point. And that's why, and in large part, that's why we're going to 2 times a month for
All the
I think
campaigns will
all
be
the
twice a
campaigns
month,
we're
right.
going to be
Sure.
doing. It's going to be twice a month.
I mean, I really liked the kidnapped scientist plot,
Yeah.
Okay.
and I like that whole story. I liked how we gradually figured out that plot, and I I
I,
would I would have liked a lot more resolution with Shamira.
Mhm.
I would have liked
we did drop some plots.
Yeah,
um
yes, we should spend a little time talking about where those were going to pop out.
Yeah, we can't do
Steiner
all of the side
Library.
quests.
Yeah, the Steiner Library, the people who hit Palmer, the Shamira, yeah,
The guy in the Captain Lamont and the Penny Dreadful.
Kick Van Deers.
Kick Bandiers, who you guys, so by the way, you guys were going to find Kick Bandiers. He was on the station. But he had already mutated due to his
Ooh.
proximity to the thing. So I was going to deny you the satisfaction of killing him yourselves because he was, you would maybe be able to kill him, but he was already sort of deadish.
Yeah.
So, all right. That's great insights, Eric. Matt, what about you? What did I do wrong in this campaign?
No, I said earlier, I I don't think I saw anything wrong. I'm always grateful to be in any of these. I enjoy playing, and I enjoy running my mouth and coming up with silly things that become I
Quotes of
think
the year.
well, not even quotes of the year, but like I think I flogged the tiger penises harder than anybody. No pun intended. And that's part of our core campaign DNA now. So, but I enjoyed. I had a good visual of how my guy was a Slippin' Jimmy version of Lando Calrissian, Slippin' Jimmy, always looking to make a buck, always looking to help out, but kept it pretty honest above board. But when it was time to throw down, he was ready to throw down. So,
Yep.
But I enjoyed playing him, and I enjoyed how you ran it. Only I didn't enjoy the switch over the system. Not so much
Okay.
that I cared so much about the system one way or the other. It's that I didn't want to take the mental space to learn a new system because
Gotcha.
they're
Okay.
bouncing around my head.
Upon reflection, I think we might have been better off instead of going to Cypher Systems, because I kind of saddled you guys with Cypher System, and it was largely because
I'm
I
always
wanted to try it.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
always interested
um,
in trying something new.
We might have been better off if we'd gone to like Mongoose Traveler, the new Traveler versions, of which there are legion. We might have done better to stay in the Traveler
Traveler
kind of
realm.
rule set, yeah, as opposed to taking a whole new set of rules and sort of just like, crushing them down on our current material.
The
So
only thing I love the whole the Cordy campaign.
yeah, I
And
enjoyed that too.
this assembly and system with the Stacy's and Bills and stuff. I like that whole thing. When
Green
we
per
got
yeah.
off the Sergey and that whole thing, that felt like a side quest that wouldn't end. Like, where are we going with this? But because I wanted to get back to the action and find a Steiner library and get back to fighting evil bears in space. But
Can we all agree less should be banned from gaming?
yeah, at least a
Yeah,
5-year
yeah.
ban.
5-year ban?
Okay.
Yeah, 5-year.
Did you guys enjoy the ship combat stuff?
Yeah, I
did.
was wondering where we're
I
going with that,
did.
but I was, the space buttholes. I'll never forget combat with them. I thought that was fun. I thought that was good.
I love the
I
ship
enjoyed it.
combat.
It was a little weird because I became captain in that particular thing, and that wasn't really my character suited
Right.
for my skill set, the way that system was set up. But I enjoyed that we all had pedals to push and levers to pull. And so we're all just like, because it could have been like 4 of us are just sitting there watching you like fly the ship and the captain.
Right. Right.
Right.
How's it going up
That's-
there?
No, that's one of the
But-
things that I love about it's one of the few things that I like about Starfinder is the ship combat system is probably the best
Mhm.
role-playing game ship combat system I've ever
Role
used.
playing spaceship combat, or
Yeah, they
you can
really
use it
did
for
a job with it.
sail ships even if you wanted to.
Yeah, you
No, I
could.
enjoyed that. I enjoyed that. It gives everybody something to do, and so you're all invested in what's going on.
Yeah.
Turn by turn.
Yeah, everybody has a role. Everybody has a something that they can contribute to success. I think
Everyone
that's
contributes, right?
Yeah, I think that's important for any adventuring party, right? So, I mean, for a lot of, we've all been in campaigns that weren't all that fun. And a lot of times that lack of fun is driven by somebody has to be the center of attention, and be the end all be all there in every single encounter, every single relation. They're always doing it. They're the center of attention all the time.
We
And
had that character, that person, he left.
we're recording this.
I know.
So I'm gonna have to go back through and edit
It's
that.
still
but
my fault.
it's still your fault. But okay, well that's good feedback. If you think of other things that you have a way homer and you're like, you know what, I wish I told Les that he sucked at this particular thing. When we were
save
in
that
there,
the way
we
for
home.
forgot
next
about
We're
it.
all home, aren't we?
Well,
I'll save it for the next New York bar I drag you to.
Yeah.
the
I
Jet
can't believe
Rabbit.
that. I can't believe that the bar that we liked so much, the Lovecraft bar, closed. You told me it closed.
Yeah, close. That's
That
that's
sucks.
part of the charm of New York. It's
Was
everything.
that the
old.
absinthe bar?
That was the
Yeah.
Lovecraft bar. Yeah. I
Yeah.
took
The
a
one-
class with a gas explosion like 1 block away, and I just pretend like that just happens every day in New York when a building, like a 6-story building, is just fucking leveled to the ground.
And we
It's
went
like,
there.
oh,
We
yeah,
were,
that happens.
and I remember you saying, "Boy, the traffic's really light for South
They're like-
Manhattan today." I
It
wonder
was like
where
it was like
everybody
a
is.
scene out
We
of
just
like
pulled right into
Outbreak,
a
these
parking
guys in
spot.
these they seen out of Outbreak, these guys in these oxygen masks and whatnot, like coming through the clouds at us, like, oh, come on. Oh, and at that time I was driving my wife's PT Cruiser in New York too, which was just a great New York car too. Do
Awesome.
you remember they put it on the lift? They have these big car elevators in New York. So you take your car to the thing, say when you're getting back, and then they'll stick it on an elevator in a parking lot and put it like 8 stories up. So you
Yep,
you
on
can
the
see your
top.
car from 4 blocks away, sitting at top of this lift, and they got to go ratchet your
Bring
car
it
down.
down.
Yeah, it's like a claw machine. No,
So- Oh God.
I didn't think there was any. I don't have any complaints on this one. My only complaint I already made fun of was the one-armed maniac with a gun, driving a Jeep away. So I was like, how is he doing this, Les? What the hell?
That
No.
would go to Don's criticism, which is I let two people
Allowing
do too much.
anything.
Yeah. Sure, you could fire a gun and drive a car at the same time. Just use your gut, like my dad did. He who
Wow.
once declared, I could drive this car better with my gut after 6 beers than you can any day with both hands.
That's awesome.
Plot points. So we did drop a few plot points. Chimera never got her revenge.
Which makes me a bit sad because, if anybody that deserves revenge, it's Shamira.
On you personally. Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
She found Coffin's grave and peed on it.
Yeah, but
Yes.
her revenge is deserved on a dead guy.
Yeah, that's true. It was Coffin's doing. Well,
She's gonna have to
Wagner's
bring you
still
back.
alive.
Yeah.
She's probably got a few grudges against Wagner since he's wearing
would
her
say-
eyeball on the back of his head.
I would say that Wagner's gonna have to
possible.
use that eyeball at all times to keep an eye if she's coming. And what about the Steiner Library? What was that all about?
So the Steiner Library, that was to connect you guys to the idea that the Ursay were toying with powers beyond their control, right? So the Steiner Library was about it was like lore and legends of spacefaring, right? Sort of mythologies, like the Sasquatches, cryptids of outer space. And there was going to be sections of it that dealt with creatures of jump space, and that's why it was stolen. But the thing was also it was going to be used as a hook to connect you guys with somebody that I had sort of teed up as a primary antagonist along with Kick Bandiers, which was Captain Lamonta on the Penny Dreadful, and I kept throwing him. I kept dangling the Penny Dreadful in front of you guys. It's here, it's there, it's over there.
And
You
we're
know,
like,
it's in the
"Nope."
same system, and you guys are like, "Fuck that! We don't care. We're going to do this other thing." So
we got some
Well-
cows we want to inject into space.
Well, I always thought of the Penny Dreadful as something we should run from,
Yeah, that's how I
Not-
saw it.
Well, it was-
not attack.
Yeah, it was kind of it was kind of a
Well,
little bit
that's
of
good.
that. It was supposed to be a malevolent presence, right? The Penny
Sure.
Dreadful is in system, and I kept waiting for you guys to do more investigation on Captain Lamont or that kind of stuff, and you did a little bit, but not. I mean, it just never became a factor. Another plot point, and this is one that Chuck and I worked on before he joined the campaign,
Mhm.
was the idea that Jin, the AI, becomes polluted with one of the creatures from Jump Space, shares that space in his biological thing. So it was funny because Chuck's entry into the campaign was predicated on the idea that Jin was acting funny when they were overlaying the gun templates when you guys got the
Right.
guns installed. You guys were like acting funny, huh? And you guys did a couple of backup. Don, you said I want to look at the backup tapes, and I did that and that kind of stuff. And the problem with that is, with the problem with those creatures was their multi-phasedness, right? Sometimes they were there, and sometimes they weren't there. And so sometimes when you were trying to examine Jin, especially surreptitiously, there was a lot of hiding places, and that really never came to pass either. There was going to, Chuck and I had sort of envisioned that at one point, Jin, at various points, Jin would become increasingly unstable, and you guys would have to deal with that in some way. We weren't sure how, but and I think the term we used back then, Chuck, was that Jin would become possessed, sort of by this demon from the dark, and he would grow increasingly unstable, and you would be increasingly distrustful of the AI that you essentially in the ship controlled your
Required.
lives. And it was so I was sort of pointing in the direction of like a HAL 9000 moment kind of stuff that might occur, but we just never got there.
He
So
can
that was
take
another
our
plot
lives,
point.
but he'll never take our Tooficky and Scotch.
That plot point was fascinating. What the heck was going on with our ship's AI?
Mhm.
There was something was always off there ever since. It's like it's a turning point in your life that you know about, and you can't quite put your finger on it.
Yeah,
And
and I wanted it to be mysterious.
it was
Like
mysterious.
and it
You
was
did.
like creating this sense of like,
Yeah,
the creature that our hands are in the lives of this intelligence
yeah. It was good.
that we're not 100% sure has got our best interest in heart,
Yeah.
that kind of thing. It's
Um,
so I
um,
was trying to pointing at a HAL 9000 kind of situation.
I'm sorry, Mallory, I can't do that.
Right, exactly, right.
Jen.
So there's also another plot point that hasn't been mentioned yet is Keith Smitchy. So you
Right.
guys still have him. And I wasn't 100% sure. So basically there was a point where when Yamazaki messaged you guys and said, bring Keith here. and we'll take care of him, because they wanted to essentially they wanted to interrogate him. So I'm assuming
Right.
that's why you guys kept him, because eventually you were thinking we'll get back to Mirabilis and station.
Give it to him.
Yeah, we'll give them up. And I assume that would have been how that dispensed. But you really, I mean, other than maybe one time, you really never interrogated him very much, and you just kind of stuck him in the closet and left him there, kept him from wandering around.
Well,
Yeah.
we had this scientist to rescue, so
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah. There was we had a lot of like things we had to do, but you mentioned the AI thing, but I kept putting it on my mind. Like, well, they got Tam and they got Bishop.
oh,
I don't know. I
I
don't
kept
have
thinking about
any
the AI
computers.
thing.
I got zero computer skills, so that'll be helpful if the thing goes crazy. So I was more. I really enjoyed the subspace creatures that remind me. There's probably other things you drew from. There's do you remember Barlow's Guide of Extraterrestrials?
Yep. Yeah.
Or it reminded
I've
me of
got
that.
a copy around here somewhere.
And then
Hard copy.
there was an episode of like Star Trek Voyager where they come across part of Borg space that's being completely destroyed by like a subspace creature from a different dimension that's coming in just to decimate
Okay.
the Borgs. I think can phase in and out. And I think so I was like, oh, maybe this is what he's drawn from. So I thought it was fascinating.
I kind of came into the campaign and I knew generally speaking what the kind of things that I was going to throw at you, but I definitely wanted, before we started, I had the whole Ursay subspace creatures sort of plot points kind of lined out, that the Ursay were going to be in general sort of antagonists for you guys, with specific antagonists that would show up. And then I basically used Cthulhonic imagery for the subspace creatures. So and so you guys threw me for a loop after Palmer's when you killed that one and then kept it, and Wagner did an autopsy. I had no idea, so I was just started riffing. I'm like, it doesn't look like anything, there's no, that kind of stuff. So
I forgot about that. That's
there was an amazing amount of shit that went on in this campaign that I literally made up in response to you
On the
guys
spot.
asking the question.
No
Right,
kidding.
on a different alien. The one we had,
Andrew's like, yeah, no kidding. We couldn't tell, that kind of thing.
a different one. Well, that's the genius of being a good GM, right? You just make it sound like authentic. You had it all planned all along.
Say it with conviction.
Yeah, the one we had, the alien in the jar. I think we called Skippy or whatever. Did
Oh,
he
in the
have?
tank?
Yeah,
Yeah.
did he have any sort of plot points that we destroyed when he got destroyed? Because I was like, are we supposed to communicate with this guy? Because he was
Well,
just floating around with us
it
for
was
a while.
possible. The problem is, so one of the plot points with that creature in the tank was the idea that so you remember when it sort of like psychically blasted Mallory? Or I think it was still Coffin at that point, wasn't it?
Yes,
Was it Coffin
I
at
think
that
so.
point? I think it was
It's
still
Coffin
Coffin. He
at
sort
that
of said,
point.
well, so it was trying to, so that's the thing. It was trying to communicate. And I was trying to see if you guys would catch on to that kind of idea and say, all right, let's shield ourselves somehow from this, but it's trying to communicate with us. The same thing, I tried to do the same thing on the shot up Ursay ship that Seventide sent you guys to. That there was, and you saw there was other sort of subspace
Space
creatures in there.
Yep.
And they weren't being aggressive, but they were being sort of accidentally harmful. And I was hoping that you guys would pick up on the idea that this might be a communication strategy for aliens, as opposed to they're trying to hurt us. And I don't think that, especially in Sergei's warehouse, that certainly didn't come down, because you guys ended up exploding that tank.
Not
Yeah.
on purpose.
We did.
So there was that. But yeah, no, it was so yeah, the psychic damage was, it was trying to communicate with you guys, and in the only way that it really knew how.
It reminded me so they kept sending like special ops teams to come rescue, like to try to get it back, and that's what took out Palmer's crew, like a special ops team, clearly.
Mhm.
And we wiped the floor with their special ops team, as I recall, on both times we came across the various. And it just reminded me, I'm going to call back to something that's in my life. In 1990, one of my friends, who was a huge Mr. Science Theater aficionado, he liked to when we go to movies, he'd like to lean over and say some Mystery Science Theater stuff to me, and which I find annoying, but now I remember him a lot. But anyway, we're watching the movie Dracula. Remember the one with Gary Oldman as Dracula?
Oh yeah,
right?
yeah.
And it's near the end of the movie where they're fighting Dracula's minions, all these Romaldi or whoever they are that he's fighting, all the Cisgani or whatever. And he turns to me and goes, "Good thing these scientists are such good fighters." That's what I thought of when we were fighting these guys. Like I'm just a gambling drunk that occasionally sells something on the open market, but also I also take out special ops teams in my spare time.
I'm also a pistolero on my,
I'm a
as a side
pistolero,
gig.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing these scientists are such good fighters.
Well, we were all Buckaroo Banzai.
I'm saying
Yep.
these Ursay better get their money back for these, especially like these deep ops special forces guys that get their ass wiped by a bunch of yahoos in a clown car.
By the crew of the Gin and Tonic, who nobody
Yeah.
has heard of until now.
Yeah. I mean, the cargo haulers, they
Yeah,
killed
the cargo
everybody,
guys.
and you didn't kill any of them. No, you're like. In fact, we went back to the bodies. There weren't even bodies, boss. They took everything. Scorched earth.
True. All right. So we're almost out of time. Any final thoughts? Any general impressions? Anything you want to say about this campaign as we put it to bed?
Well, I got skipped over for the
Oh, for the plot point?
for the complaints
no, what do
about
you
you.
suck
Oh,
at?
complaints.
Here,
Well,
here.
Yeah.
I figured you'd have a laundry list of some sort.
But we only have 10 minutes, so it's not nearly enough time.
No,
No.
if you've got something, yeah, I'd love to hear it.
I am one of the ones, I don't know all of them. I am one of the ones who told you
Mhm.
that you should do this professionally.
I didn't want to out you in front of everybody.
It's all right. I told you that you should do this because I have paid to play on the D&D one, whatever their site is, whatever.
Oh, Beyond D&D Beyond.
No, it's some service that was set up. I don't know. It's not called the same thing now.
Okay.
Because I guess they ran into copyright law. They're not allowed to call
1-900 Game
themselves.
Master for $3.99 a minute. Less
Uh,
hostile.
that's
Make
not
your
it.
dreams come true.
Hey, baby.
But I've played in games with
Yeah.
professional GMs, meaning that they were being paid the DM,
Mhm.
right? That term doesn't suggest proficiency or likability or any of that.
Okay.
So whatever you've got, I mean, like most of us who have imposter syndrome, whatever sort of you have that suggests you're not good enough to be pro, I disagree with it.
Right.
Just right up front. Because you run games and sometimes, I mean, if you're looking at it, sometimes you might get the rules wrong. Sometimes you might allow people to get away with some stuff. Sometimes you might allow people not to get away with stuff they should be able to do. All of that is kind of irrelevant. You end up piecing together a game that's fun for everybody that's playing. So the people that are paying to play are paying to have fun.
Okay.
That's it. You could fully do this right now. Now, I have no idea what the earning potential is for the people that are on this D&D site that do professional stuff.
Mhm.
For that matter, on Roll20, you can advertise a game
Yeah.
that costs whatever, 20, 25 bucks a week to play and get people to join your game so that you're getting whatever that works out to. You take 5 players, that's 100 or so bucks a week.
Mhm.
And you're more than good enough to do that.
Yeah.
So
That's true.
Thanks.
the idea of professional, like I guess for some of us, it's like, well, you play basketball, you professional? No, I'm not 6'7", I'm not 300 pounds. I'm
Right.
not on the Rockets or the Bulls, so I'm not a professional, right? It doesn't mean you're not good. And having played with some of these DMs, they were nice guys for the most part.
Mhm.
I enjoyed playing with them, but they didn't necessarily bring the same things you bring to the table, and it was specifically not better.
Okay.
Your
So
machismo, your charisma.
yeah, your bald head is just
That's what
fantastic.
Well, I like to get a nice glow into the
Yeah.
thing, so it lights up the room.
Well,
No, I got to be honest with you. Probably to that point, and thank you, by the way. That's a really great compliment. I really appreciate it. And I think probably my biggest concern with professional DMing, outside of like, am I good enough to do it, is the idea. I've always been a little uncomfortable with the idea of turning players
Your
into
hobby into money.
well, turning players into customers, right? So because when you have customers, like for us, if I have a bad day or I have one too many whiskeys and I start slurring my words on video and handing out artifacts, or I botch a ruling or something like that.
We love
We're-
that.
We're all
Yeah, they won't mind that.
yeah, we're all friends, right? You guys are gonna be like, well, he had an off day, or something fucked up.
We'll make fun of you till the rest for the rest of your life. What are you
Exactly.
talking about?
But if you're paying $25 to play a session to play in a game, if you're a customer, there's a certain expectation of both quality and redress is what I've always had. Like if there's a certain quality floor that if you're paying for something that you expect. There's a certain level, there's a certain expectation of redress. If you don't get that level of quality, you should be able to go back and say, I did not get the service that I was promised for the price that I paid. I want some sort of recompense. And I've always been sort of uncomfortable with both of those two things.
Well, my personal experience with the gaming online that costs money
Mhm.
is you're overthinking it.
Am I? Okay.
Yeah.
Well,
You're thinking
that's
of it.
not unheard of.
You're thinking of it from like a business person's perspective. Now, if you're in one of those groups that charges for this, any complaints go to them
Okay.
and they can deal with redress. And then just the running the game. Also, you're running pre-printed stuff.
Yeah.
So you don't have to come up with anything. The rules
Right.
are there. The pre-printed stuff is there. So I'm not trying to convince you to do it. Trust me, if you do that, you're going to have less time for us, and then fuck you. But
Gotcha. Okay.
I'm saying you could do it right now. There's no reason you couldn't, and you'll be as good or better than all the other people that are doing it.
Okay.
Thanks.
Reiterate what Chuck said.
The
You're
one
smart enough,
tired
and gosh
Cockney,
darn it, people like you.
the one tired Cockney accent and all.
Well, yeah,
Right?
yeah. And for any of those future paying players who might be watching this recording, if an NPC enters the campaign innocuously but has red hair, watch out.
Kill them.
Oh yeah.
Watch
Kill them
out.
now.
Kill them
They are
right
up to
away.
no good.
The only thing that I would say for constructive criticism
Mhm.
probably goes away because you're moving to 2 nights a month.
Okay.
But when we were playing 1 week a month
Mhm.
on a given campaign, it seemed like you were often too effusive in recaps. Now, that's not all your fault. Part of it is you were putting out written recaps, and there were videos online that nobody was fucking watching.
Right.
But when you're only playing for 4 hours for a week or
Yeah.
4 hours for a month,
A month.
and
Yeah.
you spend an hour plus of that recapping,
Yeah. That's no
then
good.
you're killing the time, and then you don't get anything accomplished that session, and then you spend 2 hours recapping that session, and then you get even less time next
Also,
time.
just what Chuck is saying, I think is all true, but the technology exists now. You're recording every campaign, but you can also transcribe every single piece of these videos or whatever, and
Yeah.
have a short summary. Just drop it in the email or before, like have it roll like Star Wars style up the screen while you're still off camera. And
Yeah,
Right.
the problem with that is you can do all of that. You can't force players to read it
To watch it, read it.
Yeah.
know it.
or watch the video or keep
I'm
up
never
with it.
watching a video less. I'm
There
sorry.
will
I've
always
been
be,
watching it for nothing.
there will always be those
Yes.
players that log in
Damn.
and they're like, I haven't watched any of the recaps. I haven't read any of the recap. I'm just picking this up for the first time in a month. And now, I'm confused. Well, there's nothing you can do
Yeah.
about that situation.
Right.
Yeah. That's a good point.
Except perhaps give a brief synopsis, like 30 minutes at most, and then go.
Yeah.
And they'll
And roll
catch
into it.
up. They'll catch up. They'll figure it out, or they won't, whatever.
Or they
and
won't and move on. Right.
If they don't, maybe they'll start reading recaps.
True.
Les, when I had COVID really bad, that's the only time I watched recaps or listened to recaps because it gave me comfort where nothing was comfortable, and I
Yeah.
enjoyed listening to just people babbling on in the background.
I sometimes do
man.
that too with old videos. I like to, so when I work, especially if I'm crunching numbers and stuff like that, I like to have voices on in the background. Music distracts me. I don't know why, but voices are different. So there was one, and I love this show.
Let's kill him.
Well,
He hears the
there's
voices.
there was one. Kill your parents. I can't. I'm sorry I took that Ambien. There was one show, a French cop show called Spiral, and it was absolutely the best thing to watch because they were speaking in French and I had no idea what the hell they were saying. So it was just the voices in the background, which for whatever reason is comforting
Wouldn't
in
it be
some way.
crazy
Helps.
if that's how you learn French? Just listening.
Yeah,
every
now
time
he
you
knows
walk in,
French, he doesn't know it.
like,
Bienvenue
yes.
français.
Yeah.
Bienvenue français. But
Tais-toi!
yeah, well, thank you. I appreciate that. That's and I agree with you. The recaps. I wish there was the AI might be a good idea for recaps. I wonder if you could just go to ChatGPT and say, check out this video and give me a summary. Can it do that? I don't know.
I'm almost
Yes.
positive it can, but
Can
also
it?
you
Yeah,
can,
probably.
every Zoom call can be transcribed.
Yeah.
Well, I had one of the like onboard AI things, and I had it for a month, and it was pretty cool. It had like a summary, it had main points, it had who was talked the most, that kind of thing. And then I had it for a month, it was great, and I thought this is great, I'll keep it. And then it was like, and now you can continue using this for only $30 a month, and I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck that. So I canceled that like it was a bodily function, but maybe there's a cheaper option. I'm gonna try the ChatGPT and just put like a URL of a video and see what it
I mean,
does.
they're becoming multimodal less. They can, you can, with ChatGPT, with the Gemini, now you can just watch it, like watch this video with me and listen to my voice while we're both watching a video. And I want you to do this, this, and this. And it'll go, okay, I can do that. I mean, it's scary good. And what I would remind everybody is whatever version of AI you see right now, it's the worst version that will ever exist going
Yeah.
forward. It gets better every day.
Yeah, soon it'll
I
kill
can't
us
wait
and
for
replace
all of
us.
Lesson's AIs to have bad Cockney accents.
Oi, bitches!
It'll make you think it's your idea, though. That's how good it'll become.
Yeah.
So
Can we do that Cockney accent again? Everyone loves it. Yeah.
By the way, the AI is already here. Apparently, nobody can identify these dozens of drones that are car size flying over New Jersey for the last 4 weeks. So
Have you seen any of them?
yes,
Some
I've
of them
seen
are
one of them.
helicopters.
It's
Yeah.
one of them. I mean, you can see it because like every old lady and their brother. I live right along the Delaware, so they're like, oh, there it is. It's about 2,000 feet up. It's not a domestic psychic drone. Like you'd have to have a huge parking lot to put this freaking drone in, right? Like a garage to put it in. It's not something you can just tuck in your pocket and carry in the house. So
Yeah.
who
again,
knows?
it doesn't matter how you do the transcriptions.
Mhm.
Again, it all comes down to how people interact with it. You can do great stuff with AI or not, but if people don't read it, don't watch, don't whatever,
Yeah.
they're
It's
always
all
going to be a
gas.
little bit behind the
Yeah.
8 ball. So you just have to, I think personally, you have to decide, I'll give this brief synopsis of what we've done, and then we're going to launch into the game, and people can just get comfortable doing that, or they can decide they're not comfortable, and then they'll start paying attention to the recaps if that's what they
Exactly.
really want to know.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay. I shouldn't take
And
so much of it on myself.
Yeah, because there's nothing you can do. You can exponentially increase the amount of work you do.
Mhm.
It's not going to change the fact that some of the players won't know.
Right.
Because they're
Gotcha.
not paying attention to
Right.
any of the stuff you're doing.
That makes
And
sense.
then the only other thing is not knowing Magic Missile doesn't affect living or doesn't affect non-living material.
Still mad about that, aren't you?
No, I'm not mad because I pointed it out to you and I caused you a big problem.
Was that
Yeah,
where you
you
had
did.
the magic missile with maces of magic missiles or whatever you had when those
That was when I tried to set
dropped
off the
into-
bombs.
He tried to
Right,
set
right,
off a
right, right.
bomb with a Wanda Magic Missile, and Magic Missile doesn't affect non-living objects.
You're like, you son of a bitch.
Yeah, he
And-
kind of
and-
screwed me on that one.
He quietly hated me for like 4 sessions after that.
hey guys,
Is it quiet?
it's time for me to go to bed.
me too.
Okay, yeah, it is
likewise.
11.
Night, dude.
Time for
Hey,
Miami.
before you guys
man.
go, just thank you guys for everything. This has
Thank
been a
you.
great 5 years. I've loved this
Thank you.
campaign. I love
Thank
playing
you,
with you guys.
Les.
Thank
and
you.
I,
Thank you,
I,
Les.
I really appreciate it. Thanks
I'll
again.
see you guys at the 25-year reunion.
All right, sounds good.
Okay.
All right, later, guys.
So
Take care.
what does this night become now?
So this night, the third Sunday is going to become A team. So we're going to do A team twice in January. So it'll be first and third will be A team. B team will still be on second. Quarantine will still be on fourth. When quarantine goes out, then B team will be on second and fourth of Sundays of the month. So we'll have A team on first and third, B team on second and fourth.
Well,
When
I
are we
think-
doing shotgun
No.
bowling with Chuck?
Well, and then
No.
when A team finishes,
Yeah,
then
because
it
that's
will go
fairly
away.
close.
Then I'm starting a new campaign, Curse of Strahd for second edition, Pathfinder.
but then first and third are gonna be B team. Right?
No, the B team will stay second and fourth.
Okay,
When A team finishes, which I expect to be like end of February,
okay,
maybe end of March. A team will go away, and first and third will be open, and that will be taken up by the quarantine replacement, which would be Curse of Strahd.
okay, so Mike's campaign now is
Mm,
fourth.
I think yes. Hold on, let me see if I can find that full thing.
See, that's what I'm trying to figure out, because I know A team is soon to finish. B team is going to basically be the replacement for A team because it has a lot longer to go.
Yep.
So I didn't know if that was going to move to first and third,
I
because then
had
Mike's going to run his campaign twice a month
second and
in
fourth.
in opposition to whatever you're running.
Strahd, yeah. So yeah,
So-
so Don and I and Mike have talked about that. So yeah, so we're not going to make it so people have to. We're going to avoid it as much as possible for people to have to choose one or the other. We're going to make
Right.
it so that people can play in the games that they're already in, and if they want to get into, if they want to get into Curse of Strahd, if they're, if they have the open slot, then they can do it.
Yeah.
I got to find that thing, but I'll share it with you. Mike did a whole sort of plot.
Yeah, he does a spreadsheet. He always
yeah.
does a spreadsheet.
Yeah, he did one for this too. I'll have to find it, but
Mike and spreadsheets.
All
Yep.
right, I need to go. Chuck,
All right.
looking forward to shotgun bowling next time you're in St. Louis.
Shotgun bowling?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
what is that even?
It's where I guess it's where you set up the pins, yell pull, and throw a 12 gauge at it.
Pretty much.
Nice.
I could
All
do
right.
that.
Good night, everyone.
All right, guys, thanks
Take care.
again. Have a
Thank
great
you.
week.
Les.
And we'll be in touch soon. Don't forget, I'm going to send out another email, but I've got some one shots coming up. If you want to play Vaesen, if you want to play Deadlands, if you want to, and then
your shit goes to my junk folder, so
oh, good. Okay.
might want to text or something.
Perfect.
All right, I'll let you know. And then again, I'll be doing my New Year's Eve game this year. So let me know if you want to be in on that.
Right.
Thank
All right.
Cool.
I'll look at it. I'll wait for your emails.
Awesome. Sounds good.
Talk to you later.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Good night, guys. Thanks again.
Bye bye.